Chapter 808. Rank 2 Pill. Heaven Mending Pill. Ji Yunma also smiled. Baili Hongzhuang was a student of the Azure Water School, so their attitude towards Huan Chuyu naturally wasn't bad. In reality, they were very happy that Azure Water School would be able to bring Baili Hongzhuang to participate in the exchange competition. Otherwise, the three of them wouldn't know how long they would be troubled by the previous problems. Lin Hao was stunned. What was going on? Azure Water School was nothing more than a school that had just passed away. How could Bai Jingtian and the others be so enthusiastic about Huan Chuyu? This was too strange. Huan Chuyu was stunned as well. He had no idea what had happened. Before today, he had never met Bai Jingtian and the others, let alone any friendship. From the way Bai Jingtian and the other two treated Song Hongxi, it could be seen that they weren't naturally passionate people. But why was it that they treated him like this? However, no matter what, this was a good thing for Huan Chuyu. He immediately smiled and said, "Many thanks. I've admired the three great masters for a long time. I am very happy to be able to meet them today." Hearing Huan Chuyu's words, Bai Jingtian and the other two smiled. Old Huan is an alchemist. We've heard from Old Chun and the others before. We have to contact him from time to time. Huan Chuyu nodded repeatedly. Of course. Jian Qingqiu's expression turned extremely ugly. He wanted to use this opportunity to make Huan Chuyu and the others envious. He hadn't expected that Bai Jingtian and the other two would treat Huan Chuyu even more warmly than he did. Although he felt that it was extremely strange, he understood after hearing Bai Jingtian and the others talking. The reason why Bai Jingtian and the others were so polite to Huan Chuyu was because he was a 4th-rank alchemist and a friend of Chunyu and the others. A hint of dissatisfaction appeared in Jian Qingqiu's eyes. She hadn't expected Huan Chuyu to be quite lucky. Instead, Chunyu and the other two could not help but look at each other. The reactions of Bai Jingtian and the other two were really too strange. There was definitely something that they did not know about. On the high platform, Baili Hongzhuang slowly took out the medicinal ingredients and placed them on a table. The medicinal ingredients she had brought this time only required medicinal ingredients for rank 2 pills. Although she had broken through to the Xiantian realm and her alchemy arts had improved, she had never refined a rank 3 pill. He hadn't refined it for a long time, and there was a high chance that he would fail the first time. Furthermore, with her age, if she had refined a grade 3 pill, it would cause quite a stir. After all, such a result could no longer be described as outstanding. Instead, it was exaggerated. Thus, after thinking about it, Baili Hongzhuang still decided to refine a rank 2 pill, the Heaven Mending Pill. Although the Heaven Mending Pill was a tier 2 medicinal pill, the difficulty of refining it was only slightly lower than a tier 3 medicinal pill. Its grade was much higher than an ordinary tier 2 medicinal pill. Whether it was Lu Qinyue or Wei Hanyun, they were both 2nd-rank alchemists. As for Qi Junan, although she didn't know Qi Junan's level of alchemy, she was certain that he was at most a 2nd-rank alchemist. As such, she shouldn't be lacking in refining the Heaven Mending Pill. The Heaven Mending Pill could be said to be a great tonic for cultivators. It had a certain increase in strength and was only effective for those at the Red Realm. However, after consuming the Heaven Mending Pill, it would depend on the level of the cultivator. Chapter 809. How could he not be envied? Baili Hongzhuang and the other's speed was very fast. After preparing the medicinal ingredients, they began to refine pills. With a thought, the flame of the pill furnace was ignited. After the cold air in the furnace dissipated and the temperature in the furnace stabilized, Baili Hongzhuang placed the first medicinal ingredient into the furnace. Refining medicinal pills also tested one's temper. However, after refining the different medicinal ingredients into their essence, they were fused together. Hence, the complexity was much higher than refining medicinal ingredients. Time slowly passed. Baili Hongzhuang and the others were also methodically refining medicinal pills. Other than the occasional sound of medicinal ingredients being refined, there was nothing else. When the onlookers saw Baili Hongzhuang and the others concentrating on refining pills, they felt a bit more emotional. As expected, alchemists were not something that anyone could do. Just focusing on them for such a long time was already extremely tiring. Although no movement could be seen on the high platform, everyone did not find it boring. After all, the medicinal pills refined by alchemists were extremely important treasures to them. Every time she finished refining the essence of one medicinal ingredient, Baili Hongzhuang would place another medicinal ingredient within it. Her indifferent expression was as if she was doing it with ease. Compared to Baili Hongzhuang's ease, Qi Junan and the others seemed to be a bit nervous. Seeing this scene, everyone felt a little surprised. Previously, everyone had thought that Baili Hongzhuang was only half-baked. However, they never expected that Baili Hongzhuang's score would be the highest. As long as Baili Hongzhuang was able to perform well in the third round, then it was very likely that Baili Hongzhuang would be first in the alchemy competition. At the thought of this, everyone felt a little crazy. The first place in the alchemy competition had not been taken away by an alchemist, but had instead been taken away by a cultivator. This was probably the most miraculous alchemy competition. Now that they saw Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy appearance, they were certain that Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy skills were extremely outstanding. A cultivator with such outstanding cultivation talent was actually an alchemist. They didn't know how Baili Hongzhuang managed to develop both of them so well. Baili Hongzhuang was truly too enviable. After all, in the process of cultivation, pill refinement was essential. Many cultivators suffered from not having any pills, yet Baili Hongzhuang was able to be self-sufficient. How could she not be envied? I wonder what kind of medicinal pill Hongzhuang is refining this time around. I'm rather curious. Shaoqing's eyes flickered with excitement. Every time Hongzhuang took out something, it was a good treasure. She didn't know what kind of pill she would refine this time. I believe that the pills refined by Hongzhuang and Qinwei will not be bad. Although the first 2 rounds of the competition were somewhat unexpected, the third round of the pill refinement was something that was common in every pill refinement competition. The vice principal should have made quite a bit of preparations for Qin Yu as well. I think we'll probably win this year's alchemy competition. Zhang Yunfeng's face was filled with smiles. Given the current situation, the Azure Water School had the greatest chance of winning. Although the alchemy competition was no match for the cultivator competition, it would be good as long as they obtained first place. When Zhang Yunfeng and Xia Jiqing were talking, Gong Shaoqing's eyes fell on by Jing Tian and the others. Chapter 810, Grade 2 Pill, Condensation Pill. According to Gong Shaoqing's observation, he discovered that Bai Jing Tian and the other 3 inscription masters were very close to the vice principal. Moreover, these 3 inscription masters would occasionally look at Baili Hongzhuang. When he saw this scene, he couldn't help but have a guess. Perhaps these 3 grandmasters were here for Hongzhuang. After all, Baili Hongzhuang's performance that day shocked the 3 grandmasters. After pondering for a moment, Gong Shaoqing didn't reveal his thoughts in the end, because even if he said it, no one would believe it. Wei Hanyun's gaze shifted slightly, and a fierce light appeared in his eyes as he looked at Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't even know that Baili Hongzhuang had a good level of pill refinement. If it wasn't for Baili Hongzhuang, he wouldn't have fallen to the ground in the second round. After all, he had come for the first place in the alchemy competition. Although there weren't many people participating in the alchemy competition, as long as he won the first place, his future path would be much smoother. And because of Baili Hongzhuang's existence, he was actually ranked 3rd. Yet, Baili Hongzhuang was ranked 1st. It was simply intolerable. Wei Hanyun's gaze then landed on Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. Regardless of what the results of the first 2 rounds were, he wanted Baili Hongzhuang to fail in the 3rd round. When Xiao He sensed Wei Hanyun's gaze, he knew that this fellow's thoughts weren't good. However, during the process of refining pills, it wasn't worried that Wei Hanyun would cause damage like the second round. Such trash was destined to be a stepping stone for their master. Under such circumstances, the 3rd round of everyone's refinement of the medicinal pill was surprisingly smooth. None of them had any problems. Suddenly, a dense medicinal fragrance came from Lu Qinyue's pill furnace. When they smelled this medicinal fragrance, Everyone felt their spirits rise, and their spirits became much stronger. Clearly, this was a sign that the pill was about to take shape. Huan Chuyo's face revealed a smile. He had long since been prepared for the third round. He hadn't made it the hardest for Lu Qinyue to refine. Most importantly, Lu Qinyue's ability could only produce the highest level. Lu Qinyue, Baili Hongzhuang, and Wei Hanyun's strengths were comparable. Only Qi Junan was slightly weaker. Huan Chuyu could clearly see that Jian Qingqiu's plan was to allow the Northern Sea Academy to take first place in the Alchemy competition and the Spirit Concealment Academy to take first place in the Cultivators competition. As a result, both academies were extremely famous, and only the Azure Water School was at a disadvantage. However, Jian Qingqiu was able to obtain the first place in the Alchemy competition today. The moment the medicinal fragrance of Lu Qinyue's pill furnace came out, the same came from Wei Hanyun's pill furnace. The two kinds of rich medicinal fragrance interweaved together, causing everyone to be intoxicated. The effect of the pill was naturally not something to say. Just the smell alone was also beneficial to cultivators. However, Huan Chuyo's expression couldn't help but change a bit when he smelled the familiar pill fragrance. His gaze towards Wei Hanyun also flashed with surprise. If his prediction was correct, Wei Hanyun had refined the Jade condensation pill. The Jadify pill, a grade 2 medicinal pill, could help cultivators condense their spirit energy, allowing the spirit energy in their dantian to condense and store more spirit energy. This might seem to be of little use, but it was actually very helpful to cultivators. Chapter 8:11 Definitely Win. Although the Jade condensation pill was a grade 2 pill, it was not far from a grade 3 pill. Huan Chuyu hadn't expected that he had underestimated Wei Hanyun's strength. According to the information he'd received earlier, Wei Hanyun's strength shouldn't be enough to refine a Jade condensation pill. In this way, although Lu Qinyue had successfully refined a medicinal pill, she would still lose to Wei Hanyun after doubling her points in the third round. Thinking of this, Huan Chuyo's expression couldn't help but turn ugly. He didn't expect this to happen in the end. He didn't know how North Sea Academy managed to find an alchemist like Wei Hanyun. He had always been extremely confident in Lu Qinyue's strength. With her age, she was also extremely powerful. Unfortunately, Wei Hanyun was several years older than Lu Qinyue, and Lu Qinyue suffered a loss. Seeing Huan Chuyo's gloomy face, Song Hongxi couldn't help but reveal a smile. The first two matches had caused him to be extremely worried. He hadn't expected that Wei Hanyun's pill refinement technique would be as outstanding as Jian Qingqiu had said. Although he didn't know anything about alchemy, he could tell from the change in Huan Chuyo's expression that the Northern Sea Academy would definitely win this alchemy competition. Jian Qingqiu's expression was indifferent. Although Lingying College's alchemist performance wasn't satisfactory, what he cared more about was the cultivator competition. As for the alchemist competition, it didn't matter if they let it out. The North Sea Academy will probably win this match. Chu Jio slowly spoke. The Jade condensation pill was already of the highest quality among rank 2 medicinal pills. It was extremely difficult to defeat him. Chen Yu nodded. Wei Hanyun's strength is indeed not bad. In the future, he should be a character in the alchemy world. To them, it didn't matter who won or lost. They were just happy that an extraordinary fellow had risen up in the alchemy world. Although in terms of talent, Wei Hanyun was still no match for Lu Qinyue. Compared to ordinary alchemists, Wei Hanyun was already outstanding enough. Wei Hanyun's face was full of pride. He was determined to win this pill refinement competition. He wasn't unfamiliar with the pills that Lu Qinyue refined. Although the profound origin pill was also a grade 2 pill, the difficulty of refining it wasn't as high as the refining Jade pill, and the effect wasn't as good as the refining Jade pill. Thus, he was certain to win this competition. Ding! Lu Qinyue opened the lid of the furnace, and an even denser medicinal fragrance wafted out. The cultivators under the high platform greedily absorbed this medicinal fragrance and were extremely intoxicated. Lu Qinyue slowly placed the medicinal pill into a white porcelain bottle. Only then did she quietly stand to the side. She had already finished refining the medicinal pill in the third round. However, her gaze shifted slightly. When she noticed Huan Chuyo's gloomy expression, her originally good mood changed a bit. She was very satisfied with her performance, but since her master had revealed such an expression, she was afraid. Wei Hanyun's pills were even more advanced. Thinking up to here, Lu Qinyue's face turned ugly as well. However, it was already too late to refine the pills again. Could it be she was going to miss her victory just like that? Ding! Wei Hanyun also finished refining the pill. As the pill furnace opened, a dense medicinal fragrance spread out, and Lu Qinyue's expression changed a bit. She hadn't paid too much attention to the medicinal pill she had refined earlier, but now that she smelled it, she had already confirmed the answer. Chapter 8:12 Alchemy successively completed Jade Condensation Pill. This was the medicinal fragrance of the Condensation Pill. The Jade Condensation Pill was very famous among Grade 2 pills. She had smelled this fragrance when her master was refining the Jade Condensation Pill. The reason why she had outstanding talent in alchemist was because her sense of smell was sensitive enough. When she was identifying the medicinal ingredients, she was able to judge them by just smelling their scent. It was precisely because of this that she was certain that this medicinal fragrance belonged to the Jade Condensation Pill. Shockingly, she discovered that she had underestimated Wei Hanyun. After Wei Hanyun successfully refined the Jade Condensation Pill, the profound origin pill she had refined no longer had any meaning. She would definitely lose this competition. When she thought up to here, Lu Qinyue felt extremely depressed in her heart. She wanted to win glory for Azure Water School in this world. At this moment, she didn't even dare to look at the students who had confidence in her. She had always been a genius alchemist in everyone's eyes, and everyone was filled with confidence in her. However, she had actually lost to Wei Hanyun of Azure Water School today. Everyone would probably be disappointed in her. After seeing Lu Qinyue's ugly expression, Wei Hanyun's mood became incomparably good. After today, he would become famous. Why do I feel that something is not quite right? Cui Haoyan frowned and followed his gaze. He noticed that the vice principal and Lu Qinyue's expressions weren't very good. Obviously, something unexpected had happened. Hearing Cui Haoyan's words, everyone also looked at the high platform. This time, everyone also noticed the problem Cui Haoyan had mentioned. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation wouldn't have happened, Lu Qinyue wouldn't have revealed such a look. Could it be Lu Qinyue lost this competition? Zhang Yinfeng said in a low voice. Even though this competition was not over yet, everyone knew who the higher the grade of the pill, the better the result. Lu Qinyue's expression was definitely because the pills she refined were not as good as Wei Hanyun's. That would be terrible. Bai Junyu's voice sank. Their performance in the first 2 rounds could be said to be the best. He hadn't expected that Wei Hanyun would actually be able to turn the tables in the 3rd round. Don't worry, Hongzhuang's pills haven't finished yet. Perhaps Hongzhuang's pills will be stronger than Wei Hanyun's. Shaoqing had a blind faith in Baili Hongzhuang. Ever since she met Baili Hongzhuang, she had never been disappointed in her. On the high platform, Baili Hongzhuang's expression remained indifferent. She was neither arrogant nor impatient, neither slow nor slow. Her methodical appearance did not make anyone feel the slightest bit nervous. On the contrary, it was a kind of pleasant enjoyment. Shaoqing believed that Baili Hongzhuang's confidence was there, otherwise she wouldn't be so calm. Everyone looked at Shaoqing. Although they didn't understand why Shaoqing trusted Baili Hongzhuang so much, Baili Hongzhuang was already their only hope. Ding! Another pill furnace opened. Qi Junan successfully finished refining the pill. With a smile on her face, she took the pill out of the furnace and placed it into a white porcelain bottle. However, the 3 of them had already finished refining the pill. Baili Hongzhuang was the only one left. Her pill furnace hadn't even emitted any medicinal fragrance. The Azure Water School's people couldn't help but feel a bit anxious. Time passed by. There wasn't much time left until the end of the 3rd round. Baili Hongzhuang has yet to be refined. Will she directly fail? Chapter 813. Rank 3 Pill? As time passed, Huan Chio's expression changed a bit. Baili Hongzhuang had indeed been refining pills for a long time. Although Baili Hongzhuang hadn't finished the second rank alchemist exam in the Alchemist Association, he believed that Baili Hongzhuang had already reached the level of a second rank alchemist. Merely, most of the time required to refine a rank 2 pill was about the same. It was a bit strange that Baili Hongzhuang hadn't finished refining it for so long. The smile on Tsang Hongxi's face grew deeper and deeper. Lu Qinyue was already destined to be Wei Hanyan's defeat. As for Baili Hongzhuang, she probably wouldn't even be able to complete it, let alone surpassing Wei Hanyan. Old Huan, your academy's Baili Hongzhuang seems to be a bit of a thunderous person. Tsang Hongxi's voice was filled with ridicule and complacency. It was because he felt nervous because of Baili Hongzhuang's appearance earlier. From the looks of it, all his worries were unnecessary. Even if Azure Water School had achieved good results in the first 2 matches, so what? The most important thing for an alchemist was refining pills. What use was Baili Hongzhuang's ability to distinguish and refine medicinal ingredients? The more eye-catching the previous performance, the worse the results of the 3rd round would be. No matter how much the Azure Water School wanted to achieve good results in this exchange competition, it was all in vain. Jian Qingqiu's face also revealed a smile. Although the Alchemy competition's Spirit Concealment Academy was probably the last place, the Alchemy competition had never been an important event for the Academy. As long as Nangong Aochin defeated all his opponents tomorrow, the Spirit Concealment Academy would still be a glorious place. Hongzhuang's pills haven't been refined yet. What should we do? Xia Jiqing couldn't help but cross her hands, her eyes filled with worry. Hongzhuang was now the only hope of Azure Water School. Could it be that something unexpected happened during the process of refining pills? Bai Junyu frowned. If Baili Hongzhuang did not succeed at the last moment, that would be terrible. I don't even know the ending until the last moment. Gong Shaoqing slowly spoke. His usually cold and expressionless face was now faintly stained with a trace of bigotry. From the moment they arrived at Lingying College, it had already been a bitter battle. Until the last moment, they would not admit defeat. Chu Jio and the other 2 exchanged glances. Surprise appeared in their eyes. According to their senses, there seemed to be no problem with the pills in Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. As for Baili Hongzhuang, she didn't make any mistakes in the process of refining. As such, it could only be said that Baili Hongzhuang needed a long time to refine the pill. Amongst rank 2 medicinal pills, there are not many medicinal pills that require such a long time. Lin Hao frowned slightly. This amount of time was comparable to the time required to refine a Tier 3 medicinal pill. Could this girl be refining a Tier 3 medicinal pill? Hearing Lin Hao's words, Bai Jingtian could not help but ask. He did not know anything about pill refinement techniques. However, if Baili Hongzhuang were to truly refine a rank 3 pill, it would be truly heaven-defying. This way, it would be even more difficult for him to snatch Baili Hongzhuang from the Inscription Association. Chu Jio shook his head slightly. With a light smile, he said, "No, judging from the fluctuations, Baili Hongzhuang is refining a rank 2 pill." Chapter 814. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Geek, Baili Hongzhuang. Saying that, Chu Jio couldn't help but glance at Bai Jingtian. At this moment, she finally understood that Bai Jingtian was not paying ordinary attention to Baili Hongzhuang. Could it be? Baili Hongzhuang was the person Bai Jingtian was looking for when he came to Lingying Academy this time. She and Bai Jingtian had known each other for a long time. Ordinary people would not attract Bai Jingtian's attention. She really couldn't understand what was so special about Baili Hongzhuang that could attract Bai Jingtian's attention. Chen Yu did not notice Bai Jingtian's difference in attitude, and his eyes were constantly on Baili Hongzhuang. In my opinion, although Baili Hongzhuang's medicinal pill is a rank 2 pill, I am afraid that it is not far from a rank 3 pill. If Baili Hongzhuang can successfully refine it within the specified time, then she takes first place in the alchemy competition. If not, then Wei Hanyun takes first place. Chen Yu observed Baili Hongzhuang's every move. At this moment, everyone else had completed it, and only Baili Hongzhuang was left refining. Usually under such circumstances, an alchemist would be very nervous. However, from Baili Hongzhuang's demeanor, he could not see the slightest bit of nervousness. Baili Hongzhuang seemed to ignore all her surroundings, nothing affecting her in the slightest. For alchemists, this kind of mentality is extremely important, and this also reflected Baili Hongzhuang's self-confidence. Chen Yu suddenly discovered that he might have underestimated Baili Hongzhuang before, because the identity of Baili Hongzhuang as a cultivator was too confusing. It is not that there are no people who are cultivators and alchemists. Lu Qinyue is one like this, but in the end, everyone will choose a path to focus on. However, this Baili Hongzhuang is an outlier. Not only did she develop both skills, but even achieve results in both areas that are difficult for others to achieve. Being able to become a rank 2 pharmacist at Lu Qinyue's age already amazed them, but Baili Hongzhuang seems to be a little younger than Lu Qinyue. If Baili Hongzhuang can really make a rank 2 pill that is close to a rank 3 pill, then her talent in pill making is simply unbelievable. This kind of skill level was achieved when Baili Hongzhuang was distracted by cultivation. If Baili Hongzhuang concentrated on alchemy, then her achievement. Chen Yu couldn't imagine it. Thinking of this, Chen Yu's eyes couldn't help but glow with a fiery light. If Baili Hongzhuang is really such a genius, he must have Baili Hongzhuang concentrate on alchemy. Ji Yima also noticed the fiery look in Chen Yu's eyes and couldn't help but secretly murmur, "This is bad." They understand this kind of fiery look well, as they will only do this after seeing exceptionally good seedlings. In fact, Ji Yima's surprise was stronger than Chen Yu's. He didn't understand, what did this girl, Baili Hongzhuang, eat to grow up? Her level of cultivation is very strong, and her attainments in inscription are very outstanding. She even has mastered this alchemy technique. At her age, it is impossible to master so many things even if she didn't sleep. However, Baili Hongzhuang has mastered it. But what he likes most are geeks like this. Baili Hongzhuang was engrossed in her pill refinement. Although Lu Qinyue and the others had already refined their pills, she was not nervous. From the moment she chose to refine the heaven-mending pill, she had already realized that such a situation would occur. Chapter 8:15. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort, this is going to blow up the furnace. The higher the level of the pill, the longer it takes to refine. After understanding the competition time limit, she had already calculated that there was time to refine the heaven-mending pill. Just when everyone decided that Baili Hongzhuang would not be able to finish the competition, suddenly, a refreshing medicinal fragrance emerged from Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. When they smelled this medicinal fragrance, everyone's eyes lit up. The medicinal fragrance seemed to be more intense than that of Lu Qinyue and Wei Hanyun. Greedily absorbing the medicinal fragrance, everyone only felt that under the effect of this medicinal fragrance, their bodies felt refreshed. After Huan Chuyu smelled the fragrance of the pill, his originally slightly solemn face once again glowed with glory. If he is right, Baili Hongzhuang made the heaven-mending pill. The heaven-mending pill is very famous among the rank 2 pills, and is also of great help to cultivators. But the pill formula of the heaven-mending pill is only in the hands of a very small number of alchemists. Even he had never mastered the heaven-mending pill recipe. Among the second-rank pills, there are not many pills that can outperform the Jade condensing pill, but this heaven-mending pill is one of them. As long as Baili Hongzhuang can complete the heaven-mending pill, then Baili Hongzhuang will become the well-deserved number 1. While Huan Chuyu was rejoicing, he also felt a bit of emotion in his heart. He thought that Lu Qinyue's ability in this alchemy competition was very likely to win, but he didn't expect that the final key would turn out to be Baili Hongzhuang. No one could guess this. Wei Hanyun's eyes changed a bit after smelling the fragrance of the pill. He really underestimated Baili Hongzhuang before, but he didn't expect her alchemy skills to be so exquisite. It seems that this time Kanglan Academy also used a method to blind everyone and make all of them focus on Lu Qinwei. In fact, Baili Hongzhuang is the real trump card. Fortunately, he was already prepared. Even if Baili Hongzhuang has mastered a higher level of alchemy, so what? As long as the pill cannot be refined, all of Baili Hongzhuang's efforts will be in vain. There was a look of excitement in Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes as the master's pill was about to be successfully refined. Guys like Wei Hanyun killed him instantly. However, just when the pill was about to be successfully refined, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly frowned, because she found that this pill furnace could not withstand the hottest temperature right before the pill is formed. In the process of alchemy, the highest temperature occurs before the pill is formed. According to common sense, even if the level of the Heaven Mending pill is slightly higher than that of ordinary second-rank pills, it is impossible for this pill furnace to not withstand the temperature, unless someone did something. At that moment, Baili Hongzhuang was sure that someone must have done something to her pill furnace. If it weren't for this, the pill furnace would definitely be able to withstand this temperature. Huan Chuyu and others also noticed the sudden change in Baili Hongzhuang's expression. Logically speaking, there should be no problem with the successful refining of Baili Hongzhuang's pill, but the sudden change in Baili Hongzhuang's expression indicated that something must have gone wrong. Kacha! A crisp and subtle sound came to everyone's ears, and the faces of Huan Chuyu and the others all suddenly changed. This is going to blow up the furnace. Chu Jio judged the situation immediately, but her expression was unbelieving. Alchemists are not strangers to explosions, but it is impossible for Baili Hongzhuang in this situation to blow up her furnace. Chapter 816. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort, Shameless Conspiracy. What's going on here? There's something wrong with Hongzhuang's pill furnace? Zhang Yunfeng's expression changed. She didn't understand how such a problem could occur if the pill was refined well. Xia Jiqing and others felt a sudden tension. During this critical process of alchemy, if there was a problem with the alchemy furnace, wouldn't the elixirs that were about to be successfully refined also be ruined? How can a cultivator's alchemy be good? It's funny that the furnace is going to blow up. The cultivators of Lingyin Academy laughed mercilessly. The explosion of a furnace could only be caused by the lack of skill of the pill refiner. Baili Hongzhuang dares to participate in the alchemy competition with such a level of skill. Isn't it deliberately creating an amusement for us? I'm afraid Kanglan Academy will be disgraced now. The first 2 rounds are equal to this 3rd round, and she can't even make medicinal pills. After Xia Jiqing heard the conversations of the people around her, her face could not help but become ugly, and she immediately wanted to argue with them. But Shui Haoyan stopped her. There's so many people in Lingyin Academy, she wouldn't be able to win, and it would just be a waste of time. Seeing this, Xia Jiqing's face was still filled with indignation, and she could only hold it in. She believed that this definitely was not caused by Hongzhuang. Someone must have done something to this pill furnace. Huan Qiu's face turned gloomy. It was absolutely impossible for this pill furnace to be unable to withstand the temperature of the second-rank pill, and the only explanation was that someone had tampered with Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace. Before Huan Qiu could speak, Chu Jio was the first to say, "Principal Jian, Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace has been tampered with. This competition is not fair." Hearing this, a look of surprise appeared in Jian Qingqiu's eyes. Tampered with? How is this possible? But none of them could believe that this matter had nothing to do with Jian Qingqiu. This is Lingyin Academy, and this pill furnace was also supplied by Lingyin Academy. Who would believe that it had nothing to do with Jian Qingqiu? Principal Jian, it is too much for someone to deal with this type of situation, Huan Chuyu said with a cold face. If this change hadn't happened, Baili Hongzhuang, who was in first place in the alchemy competition at that time, would have been destroyed by the opponent's actions. As the vice president of Kanglan Academy, how could he bear it? Compared with Huan Chuyou's rage, Jian Qingqiu looked a little calmer and deliberately put an apologetic look on his face. I don't know anything about this. Elder Huan, don't worry, I will definitely investigate. However, let's wait until the end of this alchemy competition to find the cause. It is not appropriate to leave the table now. As Jian Qingqiu's voice fell, Huan Chuyou's face became even more ugly. Jian Qingqiu's meaning was very clear. He will find out who did it, but only after the alchemy competition is over, when the outcome has already been decided. By then, even if Jian Qingqiu casually prevaricated behind the scenes, what would be the point? Everyone focuses on the final result. No one would care much about this conspiracy. This is equivalent to making Kanglin Academy suffer a loss in silence. However, what Jian Qingqiu said also irrefutable. Because they found out too late, it was impossible to repeat the alchemy competition. Chapter 817. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort by Jing Tian helps Chu Jiu's heart sank slightly, and there was a hint of sympathy in her eyes. They didn't expect that Baili Hongzhuang would be targeted like this. Now that it was the last competition, it could be seen from Jian Qingqiu's attitude that he would never in 100 years declare the third competition invalid because of this. As a result, Kanglin Academy can only suffer from this loss in silence. Even if they all feel that Kanglin Academy is wronged, this is often the reality. It is not that they have never encountered such a situation. Competition is competition, and many people have lost due to such conspiracies. It's just that they didn't expect Lingyin Academy to be so bold. Even though they knew what was going on, they had no proof. Huan Chuyu tightly clenched his fists. The current situation made him feel so powerless. In fact, Kanglin's situation has been like this for years. Without strength, there is no ability to refute. Kanglin Academy does not have enough clout among the three academies. Otherwise, Lingyin Academy would not dare to be so blatant. It's nothing for him to bear this, but letting the students endure such an unfair attitude because of the powerlessness of the academy. How can he face Baili Hongzhuang? Both Jian Qingqiu and Song Hongxi didn't care. This world has always been like this, where the weak eat the strong and the fittest survive. With the current status of Kanglin Academy, they have no right to speak. Even if they are wronged, what could they do? Elder Huan, think about it. Lin Hao patted Huan Chuyu on the shoulder. In this situation, they had no choice. Although Bai Jingtian had always hoped that Baili Hongzhuang would not be taken too seriously by the people of the Alchemist Guild, he could not bear to see such Lingyin Academy's attitude any longer. Baili Hongzhuang was a junior he greatly admired. How could he watch Baili Hongzhuang suffer such injustice? Since someone has tampered with Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace, it proves that this competition is unfair, and it is natural to redo the competition. Otherwise, if the framed person can only suffer from the loss, then in my opinion, in the future Academy Exchange competitions, there is no need for real strength. Just think of ways to eliminate your opponents. Principal Jian, is this the purpose of the alchemy competition held by your Lingyin Academy? Bai Jingtian was unceremonious, as he didn't regularly have much intersection with Lingyin Academy, and he didn't need bow down to Lingyin Academy. Since he couldn't stand it, he would be blunt. As Bai Jingtian's voice fell, Jian Qingqiu was dumbfounded. He couldn't understand why Bai Jingtian would suddenly speak up for Huan Chuyu. Yes, if it's not fair, let's compete again, otherwise the champion of this alchemy competition will be questionable. Ji Yunma also said. Baili Hongzhuang helped him solve a problem that he had never been able to comprehend. He hadn't had a chance to thank Baili Hongzhuang. Now that something like this happened, how could he keep silent? Although Qin Qingwu did not speak, he nodded in agreement. This is why he didn't like dealing with people like Jian Qingqiu. These people never value the truth, and they use trickery behind the scenes. With his personality, he didn't know how many things he missed when he communicated with Jian Qingqiu and others. But this time, Lingyin Academy had gone too far. Jian Qingqiu was dumbfounded. What is happening? Chapter 818. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. Who did it? It stands to reason that since Bai Jingtian and the others have no friendship with Huan Chuyu, they should not be helping him like this. Could it be that Bai Jingtian and the others are just plain blind? Thinking of this, Jian Qingxiu was speechless for a while. He only felt that Bai Jingtian and others had been absorbed in their research and did not know how to adapt at all. They were completely stubborn. The people present are all discerning people, and no one is unclear about what is going on here. The members of the Alchemist Guild had not spoken up, but the Inscription Guild Master had acted as a righteous person. Is this not finding trouble? Huan Qiu also didn't expect that Bai Jingtian and the others who they had only met for the first time would speak up for Kanglan Academy and couldn't help but feel moved. Jian Qingxiu and Lin Yinghao looked at each other. This was really a dilemma. Had they known this would happen, they would not have invited Bai Jingtian and the others up. In this way, there wouldn't have been such a mishap. Obviously, regret is useless. After thinking for a moment, Jian Qingxiu said, "Let's take a look first." Baili Hongzhuang's expression had changed the moment she felt that the furnace was going to blow up. Before starting the alchemy, she had already checked the pill furnace and only started refining after confirming that the pill furnace was fine. It's just that she didn't expect the other party to hide his tampering such that she didn't feel the slightest problem, and it only appeared at the last moment. Ordinary people would not know how to do this, and the only person who would know this trick is an alchemist. Almost immediately, Baili Hongzhuang knew that this must be the work of Wei Hanyan. No wonder Wei Hanyan didn't say anything after suffering a loss in the previous round. He had already determined the result of this round. Thinking of this, a fierce look appeared in Baili Hongzhuang's eyes. She had always been someone who took revenge, and this matter would not be forgotten. Wei Hanyan's eyes lit up with pride. The explosion of a furnace is a very dangerous thing. If Baili Hongzhuang does not retreat immediately, the aftermath of the explosion would affect Baili Hongzhuang, likely causing a serious injury. However, once Baili Hongzhuang retreats, her medicinal pill will also turn into ashes. Boom! An explosion sounded. Baili Hongzhuang's figure flew quickly, and Lu Qinyue and the others also stepped back a few steps, avoiding the power of the explosion. Lu Qinyue's face was very ugly. This situation exceeded all of their expectations. The pills refined by Baili Hongzhuang were completely useless. In the end, this alchemy competition was lost. The smile on Wei Hanyan's face became brighter and more arrogant. Baili Hongzhuang, no matter how you pretend to be extraordinary, your refinement of pills still fails. Cultivators should do the things that cultivators do well. And as for the alchemist's affairs, you should stay out of it. Chu Jio and the others also sighed. This is the result after all. Wei Hanyan held his head high. He would take first place in this alchemy competition, and his reputation will spread far and wide. Baili Hongzhuang is just a stepping stone for him. The expressions of Xia Jiqing and the others changed one after the other, and they exploded in anger. This had never happened in previous alchemy competitions. Damn it, as I see it, in all probability, this Wei Hanyan is the one who tampered with Hongzhuang's pill furnace. Bai Junyu's eyes burned with anger. I knew from the first moment I saw this guy that he was no good. Chapter 819. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. This girl is incredible. The cultivators of Baili Academy cheered. This round of victory belongs to them. Under the high platform, Gu Yaoi, who was originally in a depressed mood, also smiled with joy after seeing this scene. Even though her performance in the alchemy competition was unsatisfactory, Wei Hanyan won and Baili Academy won, so she was also proud. Although the practitioners of Lingyin Academy knew that they were at the bottom, they were still happy because the victory did not belong to Kanglan Academy. Just as Wei Hanyan was happily waiting for the alchemist judge to decide that he was first in the alchemy competition, Baili Hongzhuang's cold voice rang out. Wei Hanyan, it's too early for you to be happy. Hearing this, Wei Hanyan couldn't help being startled. But the smile at the corner of his mouth did not change. Baili Hongzhuang, what qualifications do you have to say such things to me as someone who hasn't even succeeded in refining a pill? Hongzhuang, you... Lu Qinghua couldn't help but exclaim after seeing Baili Hongzhuang's situation. Her clear, water-like eyes flashed with a strong color of incredulity. This was really unbelievable. The reason was that Baili Hongzhuang's hand was burning with flames, and in the middle of the flames, a round and full pill was in it. When Wei Hanyun saw the pill in Baili Hongzhuang's hand, he couldn't help but be stunned. How could this be possible? The pill furnace had already been blown up, but Baili Hongzhuang was able to save the pill. This was absolutely impossible. However, Baili Hongzhuang had evidence that nothing is impossible. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes rippled with cold light. It was not that simple for Wei Hanyun to use such tactics to defeat her. 1 second before the explosion of the pill furnace, she took the pill out from it. Even she was not absolutely confident. The temperature of the pill before it is baked is critical. Without the pill furnace, she can only use the flame to achieve this temperature. Fortunately, she succeeded. What qualifications does a despicable guy like Wei Hanyun have to take first place in the alchemy competition? She will not let such a despicable villain succeed. Everyone present was stunned, staring blankly at the flame in Baili Hongzhuang's hand. It was unbelievable. Chu Jio and others also widened their eyes. Baili Hongzhuang's move really exceeded everyone's expectations. Even they may not be able to save the pill before the furnace explodes, but Baili Hongzhuang did it. This alone was enough to prove how terrifying Baili Hongzhuang's control over the flame is. This girl is unbelievable. A smile appeared on Chu Jio's face. With this level of control of the fire, she had a sigh at Baili Hongzhuang's accomplishments in alchemy. Kanglin Academy has produced another genius pill refiner this time, and the extent of the surprise is the most they have seen in years. Huan Shuyu was also surprised at the sudden good news. Baili Hongzhuang's performance could only be described as perfect. The three, including Bai Jingtian, looked at each other. They didn't expect this girl to be so accomplished in alchemy that even they had to marvel at it. Jian Qingxiu, Lin Yinghao, and Cang Hongxi were the ones with the most ugly faces. It took them so much effort, yet they achieved this result. Baili Hongzhuang actually solved this predicament. Doesn't it mean that everything they did before was meaningless? Chapter 820. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort test results under the shimmering golden sunlight. On top of the high platform, the woman in the white dress had a confident glow on her breathtaking and alluring face. Without moving her mind or body, Baili Hongzhuang dampened the flame, and then put the pill into the white porcelain bottle. Baili Hongzhuang shifted her gaze to look at Wei Hanyun, and an enchanting and charming smile lifted at the corners of her lips. "Sorry, I ruined your plan." As Baili Hongzhuang's voice fell, Wei Hanyun's face became extremely ugly. Baili Hongzhuang's words were like a slap to the face. He had calculated everything, but in the end he still lost to Baili Hongzhuang? Impossible. Even if your pill remains intact, the internal structure must have been destroyed. Wei Hanyun's eyes were filled with suspicion. He did not believe that Baili Hongzhuang could still salvage the pill under such circumstances. Perhaps Baili Hongzhuang just used this method to muddle through. Baili Hongzhuang shrugged and looked at Wei Hanyun with more than a hint of pity in her eyes. If that is what you think, you are destined for disappointment. Maybe Wei Hanyun's schemes could hurt others, but she would not give Wei Hanyun the opportunity. Baili Hongzhuang's hand shocked many people, and everyone's eyes were filled with astonishment as they couldn't believe what they saw. This Baili Hongzhuang is too powerful. This move is simply amazing. This is the first time I have seen such a thrilling event. At her level, refining pills should not blow up the furnace. As soon as those words were said, everyone who didn't already know the truth gradually understood. Baili Hongzhuang's pill furnace had been tampered with. With the successful refining of Baili Hongzhuang's pill, the three, including Chu Jio, slowly walked to the 4 contestants. including Baili Hongzhuang. Now that the last round of the competition ended, the final results would be decided by the three of them. The judges walked up to Qi Junan first and opened the white porcelain bottle on Qi Junan's table. Second rank pill, bone cleansing pill. The pill is round in color, is uniform. Hearing Chu Jio's words, a smile appeared on Qi Junan's face, and he was quite satisfied with his performance today. Everyone in Lingyin Academy applauded after hearing that Qi Junan had achieved such a result today. At Qi Junan's age, being able to refine a second rank pill showed his unlimited future potential. Immediately afterwards, Chu Jio and the other judges came to Lu Qingyue. After checking the pill refined by Lu Qingyue, a light of satisfaction appeared in Chu Jio's eyes. They had always admired Lu Qingyue, who has an outstanding talent for alchemy. Second rank pill, Xin Yuan pill. The pill is round and the color is uniform. Lu Qingyue showed a gentle smile. With her current strength, refining the Xin Yuan pill was already considered very good, as this one had the highest level among the pills she had mastered. Qi Junan already understood the difference between himself and Lu Qingyue when he heard that Lu Qingyue refined the Xin Yuan pill. This time in the alchemy competition, he had taken a supporting role, and the victory had nothing to do with him. When the three, including Chu Jio, looked at the Jade condensing pill that Wei Hanyun had refined confidently, a look of surprise also appeared in their eyes. Second rank medicinal pill, Jade condensing pill. The pill is round in color, is uniform. Chapter 821. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius doctor and scrupulous consort really did it, although they did not view Wei Hanyun's behavior positively. They had to recognize Wei Hanyun's accomplishments in alchemy. Among the second-rank pills, the refinement of the Jade condensing pill is already extremely difficult, which means that as long as Wei Hanyun continues to work, Wei Hanyun is not far from breaking through to become a third-rank alchemist. When everyone under the high platform stage heard about these pills, their eyes reflected doubt. They were all second-rank pills, so they didn't know how to compare them for the results. Fortunately, there were some alchemists from Lingyin Academy in the audience, and they immediately explained the difference between the three pills. Everyone's eye stayed on Wei Hanyun. Currently, Wei Hanyun's performance is the best. Who cares about the Jade condensing pill? The pill made by Hongzhuang will be the best, Shaoqing said firmly. She believed that Hongzhuang would definitely defeat Wei Hanyun, this despicable villain. Seeing Shaoqing's blind worship, Zhang Yunfeng smiled helplessly, but her eyebrows reflected a little worry. If Hongzhuang's pill furnace hadn't exploded, then it would be okay to say this. I'm just worried that the explosion of her pill furnace will have an impact on the pill. As Zhang Yunfeng's voice fell, Gong Shaoqing and others' mood fell a bit heavier. They had also thought of this problem, but they still had a glimmer of hope in their hearts. Wei Hanyun sneered at Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang could finish refining the pill if the furnace exploded. He was not intimidated. Baili Hongzhuang's words could not affect him at all. This Wei Hanyun is really an idiot. Xiaohe was looking at Wei Hanyun as if he was seeing an idiot. He had seen self-delusion, but he had never seen such blind self-delusion. He thinks that everyone is like him when he can't do it himself, but he won't be able to continue lying to himself in a little while. Xiaobai raised his eyebrows, waiting for when this guy would fall into complete despair. Chu Jio and the other judges stood in front of Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's performance was too surprising. It's hard to judge. While Baili Hongzhuang's talent in alchemy has won their approval, they're also worried. Will the pills saved by Baili Hongzhuang in this situation be ruined? As alchemists, they understand what happens in an explosion. Although what Baili Hongzhuang did is theoretically feasible, it is very difficult to actually do it. Huan Qiu's hands gradually folded. All this depends on Baili Hongzhuang. Compared to everyone's nervousness, Baili Hongzhuang was very indifferent. With a small smile on the corners of her lips, she handed the white porcelain bottle to Chu Jio. Seeing that Baili Hongzhuang was so confident, Chu Jio couldn't help but wonder Is there really no problem with Baili Hongzhuang's medicine pill? However, when Chujio opened the white porcelain bottle, a refreshing medicinal fragrance wafted out, filling her nose. Looking within, the pill was round and full without a single flaw. However, this is only the surface appearance, and the internal qualities are unknown. However, as the Chujio and other two checked more closely, the three of them looked at each other with a hint of amazement in their eyes. Second-rank medicinal pill, Heaven Mending pill. The pill is round with uniform color and is flawless. The last comment, flawless, showed the shock of Chujio and the other two. Baili Hongzhuang actually did it. Chapter 822, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort Kanglan Academy, win. As Chujio's voice fell, the eyes of everyone present reflected shock. Shaoqing gave Bai Junyu a high five, her delicate face full of excitement. I knew Hongzhuang would be able to do it. At this moment, even Gong Shaoqing's unchanging iceberg face showed a smile too. Baili Hongzhuang had created a miracle. Lu Huayin clenched his hands tightly, his eyes shining brightly. Baili Hongzhuang is really fighting for Kanglan Academy. Huan Chuyu slammed his fist on the table. He has not been so excited for many years. Baili Hongzhuang is really amazing. Lu Qinyue also had a shocked expression on her face. She was no stranger to the Heaven Mending pill. She had heard Master mention it before, but Master did not have a recipe for the Heaven Mending pill. Unexpectedly, Baili Hongzhuang not only has the pill recipe, but also refined it. The Xinyuan pill she refined was only a middle-level second-rank pill, and Baili Hongzhuang's was close to a third-rank pill. All along, she thought that Baili Hongzhuang's talent was similar to hers, but now it seems that Baili Hongzhuang's talent is much better than hers. Both her age and alchemy is better than her, and this gap is almost impossible to bridge. However, the most important thing is that the difficulty of the Heaven Mending pill is higher than that of the Jade condensing pill. This means that they won the alchemy competition. Kanglan Academy has won. Kanglan Academy, which had failed twice in a row, won. A smile appeared on Lu Qinyue's face. She was happy for the school's achievements, but her heart still felt a trace of loss. Impossible. Wei Hanyun's face changed suddenly. It's impossible. Under such circumstances, it is impossible for Baili Hongzhuang to protect the integrity of the pill. You must be mistaken. He absolutely could not accept this result. Hearing Wei Hanyun's words, Lin Hao's face took on a hint of coldness and said in a cold voice, "Are you questioning our judgment?" Even if he didn't believe it, he couldn't question the three alchemy masters. In this alchemy competition, the first place goes to Kanglan Academy's Baili Hongzhuang. Cui Haoyin and others shouted with happy smiles on their faces. Kanglan Academy won. Jian Qingqiu and Tsang Hongshi's faces were really ugly. They had been working out a foolproof strategy for so long, but they lost. Huan Qiu glanced at Jian Qingqiu and Tsang Hongshi with a bright smile and said, "Principal Jian, I hope you can find out who is behind this." Hearing this, Jian Qingqiu glanced at Huan Qiu gloomily, and for the sake of face, he could only say, "Don't worry, I will definitely find this person. Then I will be relieved." Huan Qiu chuckled and walked towards Baili Hongzhuang. Beihai Academy ended up having wasted their effort. "Hongzhuang, you're amazing." Xiaoqing and the others rushed towards Baili Hongzhuang. This alchemy competition win is all thanks to Baili Hongzhuang's ability to save the day. The corners of Baili Hongzhuang's lips rippled with a bright and sunny smile. She originally did not intend to participate in the alchemy competition, but by chance she took first place in the alchemy competition. The scene just now was so thrilling that our hearts were in our throats. Cui Haoyin said with a smile. Very impressive. Gong Shaoqing also said. Wei Hanyun looked at Baili Hongzhuang indignantly, his heart unusually resentful, but the result had already been announced, and there was nothing he could do. Chapter 823, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort News, Mo Yunjue. Feeling Wei Hanyun's resentful glare, Baili Hongzhuang's shifted her gaze. She always felt that there was something fishy about this Wei Hanyun's appearance. Previously, they had never heard that Beihai Academy had a top person like this. But he suddenly appeared today and was so well prepared. There was something fishy about him. However, so far she had not yet found any evidence. Fortunately, everything was not destroyed by Wei Hanyun's appearance. At that moment, Mo Yunjue also came to Baili Hongzhuang and said with a smile, "Hongzhuang, congratulations." Seeing Mo Yunjue appear, Shaoqing's voice rang out before Baili Hongzhuang could reply. "Young Master Mo, you're too late. You didn't see how impressive Hongzhuang's performance was." Shaoqing's face was filled with regret. She sighed with admiration. The scenes in the alchemy competition just now were absolutely wonderful. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue smiled faintly with a little regret in his expression. "I had some things to do, so I only could come here now, but I am also very happy to know the result." The next moment, Mo Yunjue handed a note to Baili Hongzhuang and said with a faint smile, "I think you might need this." Baili Hongzhuang looked at Mo Yunjue's determined, handsome face, and a look of surprise appeared in her eyes. However, when Baili Hongzhuang saw what was written in the note, her expression changed. "Thank you. Many thanks." Baili Hongzhuang raised the note in her hand with a delighted smile on her face. Mo Yunjue's smile is still the same, his eyes still bottomless, deep black holes, but the smile on his handsome face was very charming. "Everyone, please don't leave yet. I have something to say." Baili Hongzhuang suddenly raised her voice, and everyone's eyes fell on Baili Hongzhuang, wondering what she was doing. Shaoqing and the others were puzzled. They didn't know what was written on the note that Mo Yunjue handed to Baili Hongzhuang. The alchemy competition was over. What else did Hongzhuang have to announce? The eyes of Huan Chuyu and others also fell on Baili Hongzhuang, but compared to the surprise of the others, Huan Chuyu seemed very indifferent. Since Baili Hongzhuang came to study at Kanglin Academy, she has never done anything out of line. He believed that Baili Hongzhuang must have her reasons for doing this now. Baili Hongzhuang spared a glance for Wei Hanyun, who couldn't help but be stunned, his heart faintly filled with a bad premonition. It's just that he has hidden everything very well and doesn't believe that Baili Hongzhuang can find out exactly what happened. Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi also looked at Baili Hongzhuang with evil eyes. They felt that this girl was too outstanding. Whether it is in the cultivator competition or the alchemy competition, Baili Hongzhuang's performance is too outstanding, which is not a good thing for them. At this moment, Baili Hongzhuang suddenly stopped everyone. Could it be that she's being arrogant? Baili Hongzhuang walked directly in front of Huan Chuyu and handed the note to him. She believed that Huan Chuyu would resolve this matter well. When Huan Chuyu saw the content on the note, his expression changed slightly. Anger and dissatisfaction flashed, and when he looked at Jian Qingxiu and the two of them again, his face grew a little colder. Vice President Song, according to the information we received, Wei Hanyun doesn't seem to be a student of Beihai Academy. Chapter 824. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort uncovering the conspiracy as Huan Chiyu's voice fell. Both Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi's expressions changed. "Elder Huan, what do you mean by that?" Jian Qingxiu asked tentatively, but a storm surged in his heart. They kept this matter very secret, and it should have been impossible for anyone to find out. There is no such person as Wei Hanyun on the Beihai Academy team. Moreover, according to the information we have learned, Wei Hanyun seems to have previously been a student of Lingyin Academy. Huan Chiyu's voice did not have any restraint, and all the students present could hear it clearly. The expressions of the cultivators of Beihai Academy changed a bit. In their hearts they knew best that there was no such person as Wei Hanyun at Beihai Academy. In fact, the tutor greeted them last night and told them not to publicize this fact. They didn't expect it to be discovered by the people of Kanglin Academy today. Wei Hanyun studied at Lingyin Academy for only a few months before he left, so the current students may not have much of an impression of him, but I don't think it will be difficult to find witnesses. Huan Qiu's voice was cold. Although he had always known that Lingyin Academy and Beihai Academy colluded with each other, he never expected that they would use such a despicable trick in this academy exchange competition. All along, he felt that it should not be difficult to win first place in this alchemy competition with Lu Qinyue's strength. Who would have thought that there was the more powerful Wei Hanyun at Beihai Academy, whom he had never heard of? It turned out that this was all just a conspiracy between Beihai Academy and Lingyin Academy. If it weren't for the appearance of Baili Hongzhuang, then the Kanglin Academy would have really fallen short. The audience was in an uproar. One by one, astonished looks fell on the four principals. This news was so explosive that they couldn't believe it. This is impossible, right? How could Wei Hanyun not be a student of Beihai Academy? It's true that I haven't seen Wei Hanyun on the Beihai Academy team before. Could it be true? Even if it is true, it must be Beihai Academy that is up to no good. It certainly doesn't have anything to do with our academy. Song Hongxi couldn't help but look at Jian Qingxiu. Previously, Jian Qingxiu had repeatedly assured him that there would be no problems, so he used Wei Hanyun. Who would have thought that this news would be found by Kanglin Academy so easily? In this way, Beihai Academy came to a difficult end. Xiao Lanmei looked at Song Hongxi, who was nervous on the high platform. A look of disgust appeared in his eyes, and he turned back to the dormitory. Because of a decision of the vice principal, the entire Beihai Academy was humiliated. Chu Jio and the others appeared astonished. They had only felt very disgusted that Lingyin Academy had tampered with Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy furnace. Unexpectedly, Beihai Academy was even more outrageous, inviting outside help for this academy exchange competition. Xia Jiqing and others were stunned. They didn't expect the vice principal to announce such explosive news. Moreover, this news seems to have been brought by Mo Yunjue. Does this mean that the reason Mo Yunjue had not appeared today was because he helped them investigate the origin of Wei Hanyun? Without their knowledge, Mo Yunjue had done so much for them, which was a huge favor. Chapter 825, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort, because I like you. When Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi fell silent, everyone already understood. In fact, Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi wanted to argue, but Huan Qiu said it so convincingly. Even if they had a lot of evidence, they couldn't blindly refute it. Otherwise, once exposed, their situation would be even worse. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes also fell on Mo Yunjue. It was hard to imagine that Mo Yunjue had already known everything, and even helped them to find information about Wei Hanyun. What does Mo Yunjue actually do? The fact that Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi could become the heads of their schools proves that they are not fools. If they were not completely sure, they would never have done this. But just when they had sufficient confidence, Mo Yunjue was able to find out all this information, which was not an ordinary ability. It is impossible for a mere restaurant owner to investigate all of this, which can only mean that Mo Yunjue must have many hidden secrets. Master, this Mo Yunjue is very powerful. Wei Hanyun only appeared today. It only took Mo Yunjue a short time to find out Wei Hanyun's details, which proves that there must be a lot of people behind him. Shaoqing had a serious look on his face. This was proof that Mo Yunjue's information network was very good. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. It seemed that, just as she had always thought, Mo Yunjue was not a simple character. Restaurant owner should just be one of Mo Yunjue's identities. His true identity is even more unclear. It's just that she didn't understand why Mo Yunjue, who was initially a casual acquaintance, wanted to help her like this. Master, could Nangong Xiujia be the work of Mo Yunjue? Xiaobai pondered. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang was stunned for a moment, her dark phoenix eyes flashing with a bright light. What Xiaobai said was not impossible. Judging from the attitude of Nangong Xiujia towards Mo Yunjue at the first tower, there must be something special about Mo Yunjue since Nangong Xiujie and the two people were quite afraid of him. With Mo Yunjue's strength, it should not be difficult to kill Nangong Xiujie. After all, when she first met Mo Yunjue had escaped the hands of Tan Yunma. It's just, Mo Yunjue had no reason to kill Nangong Xiujie at all, unless it was for her. When this idea emerged, Baili Hongzhuang felt this is too unbelievable. This is simply not necessary, Although Baili Hongzhuang found it unbelievable, she had a vague intuition that this matter might have been the responsibility of Mo Yunjue. In the face of Baili Hongzhuang's scrutiny, the corners of Mo Yunjue's lips reflected a charming smile, and his coldly stern face smiled with a hint of sexiness. He was so open and generous, but made Baili Hongzhu feel even more bewildered. Don't think too much. You just need to know that I have no ill will towards you. That's all. Mo Yunjue said slowly. He knew that Baili Hongzhuang had always been smart, and everything he has done has confused Baili Hongzhuang, but he didn't care. Baili Hongzhuang glanced at Mo Yunjue intensely, but I don't understand. Mo Yunjue's smile deepened. He leaned over towards Baili Hongzhuang's ear and said, "Are you sure you want to know the reason?" "Yes." Baili Hongzhuang didn't hesitate. She never believed that there was help for free. "Because I like you." Chapter 826. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort, do you believe it? Immediately after those words fell, Mo Yunjue had already moved back to his original place. His handsome, cold face reflected ease and indifference, as if what he had talked about earlier was about the good weather today. Baili Hongzhuang froze and looked at Mo Yunjue in a daze. This reason. "Do you believe it?" Mo Yunjue asked. After thinking about it for a moment, Baili Hongzhuang shook her head. "I don't believe it." Mo Yunjue said it so calmly, so she felt that she couldn't believe it. It seemed to be a joke, or perhaps Mo Yunjue said it just for to get by. Because, after Mo Yunjue stated this reason, she indeed could not continue to ask. Mo Yunjue shrugged, unsurprised by Baili Hongzhuang's answer. His smile was still charming, but no one noticed the touch of seriousness and paranoia in Mo Yunjue's eyes. "Principal Jian, Vice Principal Tsang, no matter what, you must give us an explanation on this matter." Huan Qiu's attitude was tough. Over the years, Lingyan Academy and Kanglin Academy had become more and more excessive. Although he knew about some things, he had never had any evidence. Now that he finally had the evidence, he naturally wanted to strike a blow against the arrogance of the two academies. Now that the two academies want to make Kanglin Academy lose ranking, he naturally didn't mind making the two academies suffer more. When Chu Jiao and others saw that Huan Chuyu was able to deal with Jian Qingxiu and others, they turned their attention to Baili Hongzhuang. They were very curious about Baili Hongzhuang. A cultivator that could possess such exquisite alchemy was a heavenly talent. Bai Jingtian and the others were obviously shocked by Wei Hanyan's matter. They only reacted after seeing the actions of Chu Jiao and the others. The biggest goal of their trip was Baili Hongzhuang. "Baili girl, have you joined the Alchemist Guild?" Chu Jiao asked with a smile. When Xia Jiqing and the others saw the three masters coming, they understood that the three masters must have a love for talents, and they immediately backed away. This was a great opportunity for Baili Hongzhuang. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang nodded lightly with a smile. "I joined the Alchemist Guild in Kanglin City." Huan Chuyu and the other three nodded slightly. It seems that Elder Huan's movements were not slow. Such talents should indeed be recruited into the Alchemist Guild earlier. Chun Yu was very optimistic about Baili Hongzhuang and said with a smile, "Baili girl, your attainment in alchemy is so outstanding. It would be a waste to be a cultivator. In my opinion, you might as well concentrate on learning alchemy like Qin Yue. Your future prospects will be even brighter. If you do not have a tutor, I am willing to teach everything I have learned in my life." Chen Yu had not watched Baili Hongzhuang, thinking that Huan Chuyu found such a good disciple as Lu Qin Yue. At that time, he was envious. He is not young anymore, and just wants to find a disciple who can inherit his mantle. Baili Hongzhuang's talent is truly outstanding. As long as she guides her well, her future achievements will be great. As Chun Yu's voice fell, the students present all looked at Baili Hongzhuang with envy. This is too lucky. Master Chun is famous in Qingxiao country, and his alchemy is outstanding. It is said that he is not far from becoming a 5th-rank pharmacist. It was unknown how many young practitioners wanted to worship Chun Yu as their master, but Chun Yu had never accepted a disciple. Unexpectedly, when he saw Baili Hongzhuang, he took the initiative to mention it. Chapter 827. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort, I've got my eye on the Baili girl. Baili Hongzhuang's luck is really enviable. As long as she can become Master Chen's disciple, she will be famous in the future. Yeah, we don't have the good luck of Baili Hongzhuang. Gu Yaoi and others' eyes flickered with a glint of envy or jealousy. If Baili Hongzhuang hadn't grabbed their limelight in the alchemy competition, maybe the disciples of Master Chen would have been them. Wei Hanyun's face was even more ugly. This was also one of his goals. As long as he finds a famous master, his future will take a prosperous path, but now it has been snatched away by Baili Hongzhuang. However, as soon as Chun Yu finished speaking, Lin Hao's voice rang out. Elder Chun, it's not very kind of you to do this. Lin Hao gave Chun Yu a discontented look. He had not expected Chun Yu to move so quickly, actually wanting to take Baili Hongzhuang as a disciple first. Like Chun Yu, he has always wanted to accept a disciple, but he had never found a suitable candidate. He likes Baili Hongzhuang overall. Baili Hongzhuang's talent and character are first class. He immediately accepted his fondness for a disciple, and he naturally couldn't allow her to be taken away by Chun Yu. Baili girl, this old guy, Chun Yu is not as good as me. Why don't you become my disciple? Lin Hao, why do you like to compete with me in everything? Chun Yu looked at Lin Hao with dissatisfaction. He finally managed to find such a good disciple. And Lin Hao wants to rob him? Absolutely impossible. What do you mean by that? This is something I've been thinking about for a while. You just spoke up a few minutes earlier than me. There was a bit of displeasure on Chun Yu's face. He turned to look at Baili Hongzhuang again, but with a smile on his face. Don't pay attention to this old guy. Girl Baili, I'm better than this old guy. Seeing Chun Yu and Lin Hao vying against each other, the jaws of the student onlookers couldn't help but drop, their eyes filled with disbelief. What are they seeing? In the past, alchemists wanted to be disciples of Master Chun and Master Lin, but couldn't. Now it turns out that it is Master Chun and Master Lin competing to be the Baili Hongzhuang's teacher. This world is too fantastical. Why are all the good things going to Baili Hongzhuang? Shaoqing and the others also smiled while sighing. At Chun Yu and Lin Hao's age, they were able to fight over Baili Hongzhuang, which shows how much they value Baili Hongzhuang. You two old fellows, I've got my eye on the Baili girl. At this moment, Chu Jio's words stunned Chun Yu and Lin Hao. They had forgotten that Chu Jio had also been looking for a suitable disciple. The two of them had liked Chu Jio for many years, and since Chu Jio spoke up, they had no choice but to reluctantly give up. Seeing this scene, everyone who knew the inside story couldn't help laughing. Chu Jio and the three of them were usually high and mighty, but now they are competing for one apprentice. How great was Baili Hongzhuang's face? Baili Hongzhuang did not expect such a situation and was not even allowed to speak. Several masters had already made their own decisions. Just as Baili Hongzhuang was about to speak, Bai Jingtian and the others also came over. Seeing the three, including Bai Jingtian, Baili Hongzhuang had a look of surprise in her eyes. She had never imagined that the inscription master she saw in Wubao Pavilion would also be in Lingyin Academy today. What kind of weirdness is this? Without waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to say hello, Bai Jingtian looked at Chu Jio and other two and said, "What are you robbing?" Baili girl is really promising for the path of inscription master. Alchemy is a complete waste of her talent. Bai Jingtian had a reluctant expression on his face. They came from the Wubao Pavilion specifically for Baili Hongzhuang, but Chu Jio and the others actually wanted to take the lead in snatching Baili Hongzhuang away. That was absolutely impossible. As Bai Jingtian's voice fell, Chu Jio and the others were also stunned. What was Bai Jingtian saying? Elder Bai, are you not mistaken? Baili Hongzhuang is clearly a genius alchemist. What does she have to do with being an inscriptionist? Chen Jinyu looked at Bai Jingtian in confusion. How amazing was Baili Hongzhuang's performance in the alchemy competition today? Inscription has nothing to do with it at all. Only Chu Jio vaguely understood. Previously, she felt that Bai Jingtian and the other two paid special attention to Baili Hongzhuang. Now it seems that they really came for Baili Hongzhuang. It's just, Baili Hongzhuang's alchemy technique is so superb. How could she be associated with the inscription technique? Is it possible that Baili Hongzhuang can do both? When this idea came to Chu Jio's mind, she thought it was ridiculous. It was simply impossible. As a cultivator, Baili Hongzhuang's attainment in alchemy is already extremely impressive. If Baili Hongzhuang can also write inscriptions, there is no way in the world such a thing exists. How could I be wrong? We've been looking for Baili Girl for a few days. Baili Girl's future in inscription is definitely better than her future in alchemy. Bai Jingtian puffed up his chest, his face reflecting the hardships of life, full of seriousness and perseverance. How can an alchemist be as rare as an inscriber? The question that the three old guys couldn't figure out, Baili Hongzhuang could actually solve in one sentence. So it was clear that Baili Hongzhuang's attainment in inscriptions was not lower than theirs at all. What kind of talent is this? At first they found it hard to believe, but now they accepted the fact that there is such an existence in this world. Elder Bai is right. Girl Baili is definitely a genius inscriptionist. Ji Yunma also spoke out. Although they normally have a good relationship with Chani Yu and the others, at a time like this, they were in the inscription master's camp. Everyone in the room was completely petrified. Or by Jingtian and Ji Yunma. They are real inscription masters. Everyone in the room wants their inscriptions, but the three inscription masters rarely took action, and buying inscriptions is more difficult than buying pills. But now, they are all vying to make Baili Hongzhuang their disciple. Who is Baili Hongzhuang? Why does all the good luck come to Baili Hongzhuang? My God, isn't Baili Hongzhuang a cultivator? Why does she know how to refine pills and inscribe? A cultivator spoke out in a daze. From the conversation with Bai Jingtian and others, he was able to understand that Baili Hongzhuang's attainments in the art of inscription is also amazing. How can there be such a strange person in this world? How can we compare to her? Inscriptionist. Baili Hongzhuang is also an inscriptionist? I finally understand why Baili Hongzhuang was able to take out so many inscriptions yesterday. She is an inscriptionist. With these words, everyone suddenly realized that the inscription that Shaoqing had been showing off was actually painted by Baili Hongzhuang. Chapter 829. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort. This is definitely a blow. Shaoqing, who was already hit hard, almost spat out a mouthful of blood after hearing about it. This is definitely a blow. A blatant blow. He was so proud of an inscription, but Baili Hongzhuang was the one who made the inscription. Thanks to his previous mocking of Baili Hongzhuang, didn't he slap his own face? He even broke everyone's trust for this inscription from Baili Hongzhuang. As soon as he thought of this, Shaoqing's face burned with embarrassment. In this life, he's afraid that he will never have the face to meet Baili Hongzhuang. He had never been so humiliated. Shaoqing didn't stay to watch the excitement. Otherwise, it would only allow everyone to freely make fun of him. At that moment, Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi also noticed what was happening between Baili Hongzhuang and the others. When they heard what Bai Jingtian and others were arguing about, their faces reflected shock and dismay. The news that Baili Hongzhuang is not only a cultivator but also an alchemist had given them a huge shock, and now the news that Baili Hongzhuang is also an inscriptionist has come out. What was this all about? Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang had already started learning while in her mother's womb? As principals of their academies, they have seen many outstanding students, but they had never seen a student as perverse as Baili Hongzhuang. With the identity of Bai Jingtian and others, it is naturally impossible for them to lie, because there's no need. Both Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi were envious of Kanglin Academy. Originally, Kanglin Academy was already weak, but they did not expect them to recruit a talented student like Baili Hongzhuang. Is it possible to turn the tide with the power from one person? Is this God's will? Huan Chuyu was no less surprised than Jian Qingxiu. This whole time, he only knew that Baili Hongzhuang was an alchemist, but he had never heard that she had made great achievements in inscriptions. Baili Hongzhuang's talent was hidden deeply. He couldn't even imagine what Baili Hongzhuang's master was like. The energy and resources spent to cultivate a disciple like Baili Hongzhuang must be enormous. The eyes of Xia Jiqing and the others reflected disbelief. They were so familiar with Hongzhuang, but didn't know that Baili Hongzhuang was an inscriber. Although Baili Hongzhuang's performance at the Wubao Pavilion showing that she knew about inscriptions shocked them that day, they never thought that Baili Hongzhuang could be an inscription master, because it's so unbelievable. Although Baili Hongzhuang had given them so many inscriptions yesterday, they still didn't think of this. However, this unbelievable situation turned out to be true. What kind of beast is this teammate they have known for so long? The dark, inky eyes flashed a strange color after the always calm Mo Yunjue found out about this. Mo Yunjue's lips curled slightly. It seemed that he constantly underestimated Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang watched the several seniors arguing over her, and a bit of helplessness surfaced on her charming face. Seniors. As soon as Baili Hongzhuang spoke up, the four, including Bai Jingtian, stopped arguing and looked at Baili Hongzhuang. They wanted to know what Baili Hongzhuang's thoughts were. Facing the 6 pairs of eyes staring at her, Baili Hongzhuang could only bite the bullet and say, "Thank you for your acceptance, seniors, but I do not have plans to accept a master." As soon as these words emerged, everyone was stunned again. How could Baili Hongzhuang refuse such a good opportunity? Chapter 830. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius doctor and scrupulous consort rejected? Baili Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was slightly apologetic as she knew what was best for her in her heart. With her previous achievements in alchemy, she didn't need a master at all. As for the inscription technique, she only needed to learn from the old man in the Chaos Ring. Whether it was Chu Jiao and the other alchemists or Bai Jingtian and the other inscription masters, they had already put down roots in the Qingxiao Kingdom. It is impossible for her to stay in Qingxiao Kingdom. Not to mention, she didn't have the slightest affection for Qingxiao Kingdom. The actions of just Nangong Yujin and Nangong Xiujia disgusted her, and she will leave Qingxiao Kingdom after the Academy Exchange competition is over. Therefore, it is impossible for her to apprentice here. Listening to Baili Hongzhuang's words, Bai Jingtian, Ji Yunma, and Qin Qingwu all had smiles on their faces. "Baili girl, you did the right thing," Bai Jingtian exclaimed. Baili Hongzhuang was taken aback, not understanding what Bai Jingtian meant. The 3 of alchemists also frowned. In their opinion, as long as they were willing to accept a disciple, they wouldn't refuse, but Baili Hongzhuang refused decisively. The people who were originally envious of Baili Hongzhuang now only felt that Baili Hongzhuang was a fool after hearing her answer. Baili Hongzhuang actually gave up such a good opportunity. Only a fool would refuse. Baili Hongzhuang is too arrogant. She chose to give up such a good opportunity. She will definitely regret it in the future. In my opinion, she is proud and arrogant. She doesn't know how stupid she is. This is also a good thing. This kind of person isn't worthy of Master Chan and the others' consideration. The cultivators of Lingyin Academy all gloated. They were previously envious when they saw Baili Hongzhuang's good luck. Now that Baili Hongzhuang has given up this opportunity herself, they are in the same position again. However, What Bai Jingtian said next stunned everyone again, and their faces grew even uglier. Baili girls' inscription skills are so superb. Even the three of us agree that we can't be Baili girls' masters and can only forge a long-term friendship between equals. Bai Jingtian glanced at the Chu Jio and the others. You three old guys want to be Baili girls' master. What are you trying to do? Chu Jio and the other two were stunned. In their opinion, even if Baili Hongzhuang is a genius, her ability in inscriptions is at best comparable to her ability in alchemy. Now Bai Jingtian actually said that Baili Hongzhuang's inscription skills are at the same level as theirs. So how powerful are Baili Hongzhuang's inscription skills? Although Bai Jingtian and the other two have very strange temperaments, they also know that they never lie. Since they say this, then it's the truth. At that moment, Chu Jio and the others were no longer displeased by Baili Hongzhuang's rejection. Baili Hongzhuang is already a master of inscriptions. How could they still accept Baili Hongzhuang as a disciple? They can only be equal with Baili Hongzhuang. Lin Hao felt that this was too unbelievable, so he couldn't help asking, Elder Ji, is what Elder Bai said true? Ji Yunma nodded without hesitation. Yes, the Baili girl solved a problem that had been plaguing us a few days ago with one sentence. Lin Hao and others were shocked. It seemed that they still underestimated Baili Hongzhuang. She can actually direct Ji Yunma and the others. How terrifying is this? Telling the truth, but no one believes it? For a while, the look in everyone's eyes changed again as they stared at Baili Hongzhuang. At Baili Hongzhuang's age, she can be called an inscription master. How could there be such a pervert in the world? Baili Hongzhuang also did not expect Ji Yunma and the others to misunderstand her ability. In fact, she is only proficient in the configuration of the inscription liquid, and she is a true beginner in drawing inscriptions. Who let Ji Yunma and others debate that day about the configuration of the inscription liquid? She has studied with the old man of the Chaos Ring for so long and has only mastered the configuration of the inscription liquid. The old man of the Chaos Ring obviously intended to have Baili Hongzhuang learn the basics by starting with the configuration of the inscription liquid. Who would have thought that such a misunderstanding would occur? Jilao, it's not like you've said, my inscription skills are actually... Not waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to finish speaking, Ji Yunma said, now you know how strong Baili Hongzhuang's inscription skills are, right? If she studies the inscription technique wholeheartedly, her future will be limitless. Hearing this, Chu Jio and the others looked at each other. They were amazed by Baili Hongzhuang's ability in alchemy, but they had no way to refute what Ji Yunma said. Inscription technique should be the direction of Baili Hongzhuang's development. Actually, my inscription skills are not that good. Baili Hongzhuang couldn't help but say. It's just that at such a moment, no one believed what Baili Hongzhuang said and only thought Baili Hongzhuang was being modest. Baili girl, don't be humble. It just so happens that we old guys still have a few questions to ask you for advice about inscriptions. If you have time now, can you come to Wubao Pavilion with us? Qin Qingwu smiled broadly. They came to Baili Hongzhuang this time so that they could have a good discussion on inscription techniques. Inscriptions are like this. It is easy for one person to get cornered when studying it alone, and only when everyone is together can they open their minds. With Baili Hongzhuang's strength, she will surely be able to bring them considerable gains. Elder Qin, my inscription skills are really not that good. Baili Hongzhuang said helplessly. If the discussion is about the configuration of the inscription liquid, it is fine, but if it's about how to draw inscriptions, then she's really a beginner. This girl is too modest. Bai Jingtian chuckled, not believing Baili Hongzhuang's words at all. He turned around and said to Chu Jio and the others, we have some questions to ask Baili girl, so we'll leave first. Baili Hongzhuang could not stop Bai Jingtian's enthusiasm no matter how she argued. Bai Jingtian and the others had obviously decided that she was hiding deeply. Baili Hongzhuang was very helpless. No one believed the truth. After Baili Hongzhuang was pulled away by Bai Jingtian and the others, Only Xiaoqing and her group were left blowing in the wind. The students of Lingyan Academy only felt that the world had gone crazy. Baili Hongzhuang was actually an inscription master. How can this be endured? The alchemy competition thus came to an end, but Huan Chuyu obviously wouldn't let the existence of Wei Hanyan go. He would definitely grab hold of this issue. Therefore, the three principals deliberated for a while. When Huan Chuyu walked out, a satisfied smile appeared on his face. Obviously, the three principals must have reached an agreement. Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi had extremely ugly expressions on their faces. In this alchemy competition, they really lost their wives and lost their soldiers. TL/N. Idiom means to suffer a double loss after trying to trick the enemy. Breakthrough Gong Shaoqing. When Baili Hongzhuang came back from the Wubao Pavilion, she was surrounded by Xiaoqing and the others. Sensing the dissatisfied gazes of Xiaoqing and the others, Baili Hongzhuang couldn't help but say, "What are you thinking?" Xiaoqing smiled and said with narrowed eyes, "Hongzhuang, you are hiding too deeply. You have kept us in the dark. If it weren't for Master Bai and the others speaking up about this, we would not have found out this information." Zhang Yunfeng continued, "You didn't ask me either." Baili Hongzhuang opened her hands out innocently. She never planned to hide it, but she wouldn't deliberately tell everyone that she was an inscriptionist. That would just be showing off. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang's innocent appearance, everyone was helpless. Who would think to ask such a question? No matter. Anyway, it was wrong of you to conceal this. We are very vindictive, Xiaoqing said with a smile. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang's gaze swept across Xiaoqing and the others one by one, and slowly said, "So, are you planning to return my inscriptions to me?" When this was asked, the faces of Xiaoqing and the others all changed slightly, and they immediately took a step back. "It's getting late. I'd better go back to cultivate first." Xiaoqing was the first to bolt. She had already used the inscription Hongzhuang gave her. "Jiqing is right. I'm going to go back and cultivate properly." Zhang Yunfeng also slipped away immediately. They already used them, so how could they return these treasures to Baili Hongzhuang? Soon after, everyone left one after the other. Only Gong Shaoqing was still standing in place. Baili Hongzhuang raised her phoenix eyes slightly, and she silently asked herself, could it be that Gong Shaoqing wanted to return the inscription to her? "I'm also going back to rest. I have to participate in the finals tomorrow." After saying this, Gong Shaoqing also disappeared in front of Baili Hongzhuang. Seeing this scene, Baili Hongzhuang couldn't help but laugh softly. She felt really happy to have met such a group of friends. The next day, just as the day dawned, Baili Hongzhuang and the others got up. Today was the finals of the cultivator competition, and it is also the most important round of this academy exchange competition. After everyone gathered, Huan Chuyu led everyone towards the Royal Competition Arena. The last final will be held at the Royal Competition Arena, which will attract a lot of attention. The Emperor of Qingxiao Kingdom, as well as royal relatives and other powerful people will be there in person. Ordinary civilians are no longer allowed to watch this competition, and it is for this reason that everyone attaches great importance to it. Baili Hongzhuang's gaze fell on Gong Shaoqing, and a look of surprise appeared on her pretty face. "Gong Shaoqing, have you broken through?" She clearly felt that Gong Shaoqing's breath was much stronger than before. He had clearly broken through from the late mysterious realm to the innate realm. Gong Shaoqing nodded slightly. "It's just a fluke that I just broke through." Baili Hongzhuang took a deep look at Gong Shaoqing. She knew how much importance Gong Shaoqing attached to this final. From the moment Dong Fangyu was hit, Gong Shaoqing's heart had been extremely subdued. Taking this opportunity to finally break through to the innate realm would be a great help for today's final. As Baili Hongzhuang's voice fell, everyone looked at Gong Shaoqing in surprise. This is great news. Chapter 833. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort Breakthrough. third stage Red Realm. Cui Haoyan looked at Gong Shaoqing in amazement. He had always competed with Gong Shaoqing, but he never thought that Gong Shaoqing would break through to the innate realm earlier than him. Although he hadn't crossed into the innate realm, he understood that the gap between the mysterious realm and the innate red realm is not a minor step. It seems that he must improve his strength as soon as possible. He didn't want to lose out to Gong Shaoqing. Baili Hongzhuang, didn't you also break through to the third stage of the red realm? Lu Huayin turned around with a smile. Seeing that the students were able to make such progress put him in a good mood. Other students couldn't see it, but as a tutor, he was able to see Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing's progress with just a glance. It seems that both of them attach great importance to this final, and it is precisely because they place enough importance on it that they can break through. With Lu Huayin's question, everyone's eyes couldn't help but fall on Baili Hongzhuang, not expecting her to have broken through again. Hongzhuang, your speed of improvement is too fast. It's too much for us. Zhang Yinfeng looked helpless. Baili Hongzhuang was the youngest one among them, but he didn't expect her cultivation to be the fastest, which was really a blow. Baili Hongzhuang smiled lightly. It's thanks to the yuanli fruit I got in the ruins. Otherwise, I wouldn't have made such fast progress. With her talent in cultivation, the speed of cultivation would not be slow. It's just that the amount of time she has cultivated was shorter, so there was still a considerable distance to catch up. Zhang Yinfeng and others smiled. They understood that Baili Hongzhuang was being modest. The ruins naturally helped her, but Baili Hongzhuang was able to reach this level due to her own efforts. With Huan Chuyu leading, Baili Hongzhuang and the others finally arrived at the Royal Competition Arena, but after seeing the grandeur of the Royal Competition Arena, everyone's eyes flashed with amazement. This Royal Competition Arena is similar to a huge gladiatorial arena, with a giant square competition stage in the center made of extremely hard rock and surrounded by railings. Near the vicinity of the railing, Baili Hongzhuang felt faint energy fluctuations. There was obviously a protective shield near the railing. Once the energy fluctuations on the competition stage are too great and are threatening, the shield will immediately activate to ensure that bystanders will not be affected. Around the competition stage is a circular step platform, and all the onlookers sit on the step platform to ensure that everyone can clearly see the battle on the competition stage. Currently, the stands was already full of spectators, and such a scene could only be described as spectacular. After Xia Jiqing and the others saw this scene, a look of astonishment appeared on their faces. The Qingshao Kingdom's royal family is extraordinary. This competition arena is truly spectacular. Bai Junyu said with emotion. Gong Shaoqing glanced coldly at the martial arts arena. This looks like watching a monkey perform tricks. Baili Hongzhuang did not say anything, but she also agreed with what Gong Shaoqing said. The people sitting in the stands are all dignitaries of the Qingshao Kingdom, and their final is just a show in the eyes of these people. She doesn't like this feeling, but many people like this feeling of being in the spotlight. Gear up, Baisher. Turning her gaze slightly, Baili Hongzhuang noticed that Mo Yunjue was sitting in the stands. Dressed in black, understated and reserved, his black clothes were embroidered with a lifelike silver threaded chrysanthemum. He sat quietly in the crowd and completely blended in, but if one sensed carefully, he seemed out of place. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang, the corners of Mo Yunjue's lips slowly curled up into a smile. This was his way of greeting. Baili Hongzhuang returned a faint smile. Even though there were many things she didn't understand, she believed that Mo Yunjue was a friend and not an enemy. Cui Haoyan and the others also noticed where Mo Yunjue was and raised their hands to Mo Yunjue. Mo Yunjue was their only friend in the Qingshao Kingdom. The teams from the 3 major academies all arrived today, but only the 4 finalists participate in the competition. However, the royal family of Qingshao Kingdom had not yet arrived, including the one who was praised by everyone, Nangong Aochen, who had not yet revealed himself. The royal family of the Qingshao Kingdom is really arrogant. The finals are about to start, and they haven't shown up yet. Do they like to use such pomp and circumstance to prove their greatness? Xiaohe cocked his head. What he hates the most is the bone-deep arrogance of the royal family. No matter when or where, they're always the last to appear, as if this is the only way to prove how noble their status is. The royal family has always had bad practices. Not to mention this Qingxiao kingdom is a big kingdom, so it has always been like this. The corners of Baili Hongzhuang's lips curled slightly. She expected this kind of waiting. Even in Fengbo Kingdom, which is a small kingdom, the royal family is also the last to appear. Isn't it just a royal family? What's the big deal? Xiaobai curled his lips. It was merely a royal family, and their arrogance was so huge. The arc of Baili Hongzhuang's lips widened a bit. If anyone heard Xiaobai's remarks, their jaw would drop in shock. The royal family of a big kingdom is a great entity. However, she also understood Xiaobai's thoughts. In fact, in her previous life, she never had the royal family in her considerations at all. With the power of the Baili family, she could destroy a dynasty with just one thought. Of course, in this life, she likewise didn't take all this seriously, but right now she does not have that kind of power. Baisher nestled in Baili Hongzhuang's arms, its pair of soulful eyes constantly surveying the surroundings. It's a pity that it has no chance to fight with its wisdom and martial arts. However, it is said that Nangong Aochin also has a monster beast, so they might have a chance to play. Thinking of this, Baisher couldn't help but get excited. It finally had a chance to show its might. This group of uneducated fools always treats it like an ornamental beast. What a joke. He's a majestic beast king. Okay. He wanted to take advantage of today to let these guys understand how powerful he is. Baili Hongzhuang stroked Baisher's fur. She knew that this little guy couldn't help but want to express his thoughts. Speaking of which, Baisher, Beastmaster, has always been misunderstood by everyone. This must be unacceptable to this little guy. If he has the opportunity, he wanted to make a name for himself. Huan Chuyu had already rejoined Jian Qingxiu, but the faces of Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi no longer reflect yesterday's arrogance and disdain. Although Baili Hongzhuang didn't know how Huan Chuyu resolved yesterday's incident, she believed that Huan Chuyu must have gained certain benefits for Kangwon Academy. Chapter 835, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort, have you seen him? However, the damage was done, and even though Wei Hanyun has disappeared, the interested parties knew the truth of the matter. As a result, the reputations of Lingyin Academy and Beihai Academy have been greatly affected. Lu Jingqi recovered and looked at Xia Jiqing with resentment. She previously resented Xia Jiqing, but now hates Xia Jiqing even more. However, she is not Xia Jiqing's opponent in terms of strength, so she can only use the gaze in her eyes to express her anger. In response, Xia Jiqing unconcernedly adjusted her hair, and a simple sentence left Lu Jingqi speechless, defeated enemy. After Xia Jiqing said this, she didn't even look at Lu Jingqi. Obviously, Lu Jingqi no longer posed any threat to her, so she didn't even look at her. The crowd did not have to wait long before the emperor of Qingxiao Kingdom, Nangong Oui, walked over surrounded by the crowd. Everyone present stood up and bowed to him. Nangong Oui was about 45 years old. His handsome and cold face was filled with an emperor's majesty. His eyes were sharp and wise, as if just one look was full of infinite power. Despite showing the faint smile on his face, people could still not relax. The aura created over the years was evident with his every movement. The bright yellow gold robe was like a dazzling light, causing everyone to feel awe. Beside Nangong Oui, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yue also appeared, and beside the two of them, there was a handsome man who was particularly eye-catching. The man was wearing a light yellow luxurious brocade suit, with auspicious symbols woven with golden threads all over it, evincing a rich nobility. Obviously, this man is the crown prince of the Qingxiao Kingdom, Nangong Aochin. Nangong Aochin's face was handsome and cold, perhaps due to his identity as the crown prince. His face always reflected seriousness, but this may just be his masculinity. The eyes of many women in the audience were attracted by Gong Aochan. Gong Aochan could be called the beloved of all the women in the Qingshao kingdom, and the pride of the entire Qingshao kingdom. Almost all the women hope that one day Gong Aochan will look at them, but Gong Aochan is completely different from Gong Yujin. Gong Yujin is a master of debauchery. Gong Aochan devoted almost all his time and energy to business, and he didn't care about women. It was precisely because of Gong Aochan's indifference that countless women wanted to throw themselves into his arms. This Gong Aochan really looks very good. He looks handsome, and you can tell at a glance that he is not the same as Gong Yujin. Zhang Yunfeng said as he looked at Gong Aochan. He had heard about Gong Aochan's great reputation earlier. Today he saw Gong Aochan's person. Cui Haoyan raised his brows slightly and directly put his arm around Zhang Yunfeng's shoulder. What? Have you taken a fancy to Gong Aochan? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of Baili Hongzhuang and others fell on Cui Haoyan. Zhang Yunfeng and Cui Haoyan had become a pair since the Monster Beast frenzy, but they had never seen Cui Haoyan say such explicit things. Ah. Zhang Yunfeng froze for a moment, and after feeling Cui Haoyan's burning gaze, he blushed slightly, and he said, Haven't. Finals, the three academies seeing this scene. Everyone smiled and looked at Zhang Yunfeng teasingly. What are you looking at me like that for? Zhang Yunfeng blushed and couldn't help but be annoyed. Baili Hongzhuang chucked and shrugged. I just think you look good today and wanted to look at you more. Hee. Shaoqing also laughed. This is the first time I've seen you guys show your love so blatantly. Yunfeng, from now on, you can't say that other men are good in front of Cui Haoyan, or he will be jealous. As soon as these words came out, Zhang Yunfeng blushed even more and looked at Shaoqing in embarrassment. As for Cui Haoyan's appearance, it was as if he had already surrendered. He didn't mind at all. Ha. Everyone laughed. They only had heartfelt blessings for Zhang Yunfeng and Cui Haoyan. Zhang Yunfeng beat Cui Haoyan with her pink fist. Cui Haoyan's appearance made her feel helpless. While everyone was laughing, Gong Oe had already sat down on his seat with a faint smile on his handsome and majestic face. As the Emperor of Qingshao Kingdom, I feel very honored that the exchange meeting of the three academies is being held here. I hope that the finalists can perform well. Gong Oe just said those few words and sat down. The purpose of coming here today is entirely to observe Gong Aochan's performance. The entire royal competition arena was very quiet, and it was only after Gong Oe sat down that it relaxed slightly. With Gong Oe present, there was always a little more restraint and caution. After Gong Aochan said something to Gong Oe, Gong Yujin and Gong Yuer walked to the Lingyin Academy team. Today they were not representing the royal family, but the students of Lingyin Academy. I wonder if Gong Aochan has found out who assassinated Gong Xiujia. Shaoqing couldn't help saying after she suddenly thought of Gong Xiujia. Everyone thought for a moment. The death of Gong Xiujia might be a very sensitive matter in Qingshao Kingdom, but Gong Oe's face did not reveal any clues. My guess is that they can't figure it out. If he didn't think of a perfect plan, that person wouldn't dare to assassinate Gong Xiujia. Bai Junyu said slowly, I don't see any sadness on the Emperor of Qingshao Kingdom's face. The assassination of Gong Xiujia is already a great disgrace for the royal family, and the Emperor will naturally not reveal it. Gong Shaoqing's eyes shone with wisdom. However, with the inconsistent affection in the royal family, his death is just a pretense, and maybe he really doesn't care. Hearing this, everyone nodded in sympathy. The cold-bloodedness of royal family members is well known. There are an unknown number of siblings who have been assassinated for the throne. It is not easy to grow up safely in the royal family. Thinking about it, the princes and princesses of Gong Oe must not be small in number. The death of Gong Xiujia is only a pity and a short-term sadness. It will not have much impact. This is the sorrow of being a royal family member. Jian Qingxiu stood up slowly and swept his gaze over the surrounding crowd before opening his mouth. Today is the final of the exchange competition of the 3 major academies. There are 4 contestants: Lingyin Academy, Nangong Aochen; Beihai Academy, Shaolanmei; Kanglin Academy, Baili Hongzhuang; and Gong, Shaoqing. Brother, avenge me. Although this result had been widely circulated in Qingshao Kingdom 2 days ago, many people still didn't know about it. When they heard that the least favored Kanglin Academy had 2 places, the audience was still surprised. In the previous Academy exchange meetings, Lingyin Academy was the champion, but now Lingyin Academy only had Nangong Aochen in the finals, and Nangong Aochen has entered the finals without fighting. For a while, there were significantly more gazes on the Kanglin Academy cultivators, but they were still confident. The mere existence of Nangong Aochen had already determined the outcome of this final. Brother, that woman is Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Yuer said to Nangong Aochen as she pointed at Baili Hongzhuang, who she still absolutely hates. Although she was defeated by Baili Hongzhuang, what kind of person is Nangong Aochen? As long as Nangong Aochen strikes, Baili Hongzhuang will only fail. Brother, you must avenge me. Nangong Yuer had an angry look on her face. Since she was a child, no one has dared to hurt her like that. She wants Baili Hongzhuang to die. Hearing this, Nangong Aochen glanced at Nangong Yuer, and then his eyes fell on Baili Hongzhuang. Amazement flashed across the calm gaze after landing on Baili Hongzhuang, but it soon returned to calm. Brother, this Baili Hongzhuang's strength is indeed good, but she dared to humiliate second brother like that. You must deal with her. Nangong Yujin also said aloud. His relationship with Nangong Xiujia had always been very good. Although Baili Hongzhuang had nothing to do with Nangong Xiujia's death, he couldn't bear to see how Baili Hongzhuang had humiliated Nangong Xiujia. This debt must be repaid. However, in the face of Nangong Yuer and Nangong Yujin's indignant expressions, Nangong Aochen's face remained serious, but did not show any anger. I will defend the dignity of the royal family, but you both know what you did. Nangong Aochen's words were filled with warning. He couldn't be clearer about Nangong Yujin's regular behavior. Since Nangong Xiujia was assassinated, he also understood clearly what happened to Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia at the first floor. In fact, the initial cause of this matter was entirely instigated by the Nangong Xiujia duo, and the cultivators of Kanglin Academy were merely victims. Moreover, Dongfang Yu of Kanglin Academy has not appeared again, no doubt because Nangong Xiujia destroyed his self-confidence. If Nangong Xiujia hadn't gone so far, Baili Hongzhuang would not have humiliated Nangong Xiujia. Listening to Nangong Aochen's words of reprimand, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer's expressions were somewhat ugly. They also clearly understand Nangong Aochen's character. They have always been viewed as part of the group and not as relatives. It is because of this that it is difficult for them to get close to Nangong Aochen. However, Baili Hongzhuang's humiliation of Nangong Xiujia is an insult to the dignity of the royal family. Nangong Aochen will not let Baili Hongzhuang go. They just need to know this, and that is enough. Sensing Nangong Aochen's gaze, Baili Hongzhuang did not shy away from it. The 2 gazes met in midair, sparks flashing, and returned to indifference after understanding. Baili Hongzhuang felt calmness in Nangong Aochen's gaze. The gentleman was open and honest, without hiding anything. Wonderful lottery result. At that moment, Baili Hongzhuang also understood what Mo Yunju meant about Nangong Aochen being a gentleman, and thought that this Nangong Aochen was probably the calmest person she had ever met so far. His eyes were clear and peaceful, without the slightest obscurity or concealment, like a black chrysanthemum, indifferent but fair. It seems that the rumors about Qingshao Kingdom were not wrong. Nangong Aochen is indeed the most outstanding prince of Qingshao Kingdom. The 4 participants in the final will take turns fighting each other, and the one who wins the most times will be in the final. There is no rest time during the competition, so it is best to stop as soon as possible. Jian Qingqiu slowly explained the rules of the final to everyone. Each of the 4, including Baili Hongzhuang, will fight against the other 3 in turn. This method is the fairest, reducing the possibility of opportunism. Now, the 4 students will come up to the stage to draw lots to determine the order of the competition. Following Jian Qingqiu's words, Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing walked towards the 3 principals. Baili Hongzhuang slowly drew out a slip of paper, on which was written the word 1. It seemed that she would be the first to enter the competition. Baili Hongzhuang wasn't worried about her number. She would fight the 3 of them one by one in the end anyway. It didn't matter which round she started with. However, when Baili Hongzhuang knew that her first opponent was Gong Shaoqing, a trace of dismay appeared in her eyes. The probability of this is really low. When Gong Shaoqing knew that his first opponent was Baili Hongzhuang, a faint smile appeared in his eyes. No way. The 2 of you turn out to be opponents in the first match? What should we do? Xia Jiqing was stunned. The best result would be for Gong Shaoqing and Baili Hongzhuang to meet in the last match, but they did not expect to meet in the first match. It was really troublesome. Cui Haoyin and the others obviously did not expect such a situation. Since Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing are both students of Kanglin Academy, it would naturally be best to not fight. It's just that the Academy exchange competition has a lot of gold rewards. If they can perform well in this exchange competition, it will be of great help to their future. Academy aside, everyone wants to win first place and become famous. In the past, the first place winners in the Academy exchange competition all became famous, had bright futures, and many forces directly offered olive branches. It is precisely because of this that they couldn't say anything. In the first match, Kanglin Academy's Baili Hongzhuang versus Kanglin Academy's Gong Shaoqing. The referee's loud voice clearly reached everyone's ears in the royal competition arena. When the crowd heard the news, their expressions grew excited. Kanglin Academy seems to have bad luck. The first round is the battle between the cultivators of their own academy. If you don't fight, the student who admits defeat will definitely be viewed as questionable. No one is willing to lose such a good opportunity. If you do, you will undoubtedly consume the fighting power of your own academy, and you will be at a disadvantage when you fight against the other 2 academies later. The person who wins the first place will be the prince. It doesn't matter what they do. When Lu Huayin found out the result of the lottery, he was a little speechless. From the perspective of the academy, he naturally hoped that Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing would not consume the combat power of their academy. From a personal perspective, this was indeed a good opportunity. Chapter 839. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort I Forfeit. Baili Hongzhuang's mind was full. She would never fight Gong Shaoqing. This would only reduce the chance of Kanglin Academy winning. She didn't care about becoming famous. If she conceded, Gong Shaoqing might have a chance of winning as long as she could defeat Shaolan Mei and Nangong Aochen. However, she does not have absolute confidence against Nangong Aochen, because Nangong Aochen's strength is not to be underestimated. Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing stepped onto the high platform under the watchful eyes of the crowd. The moment they stepped onto the high platform, all the attention was on them. Curious gazes fell on the 2. They all wanted to know whether Baili Hongzhuang and the other would make a move. The competition begins. The referee gave an order and waved his hand, starting the competition. Baili Hongzhuang's red lips parted slightly. This competition. Not waiting for Baili Hongzhuang to finish speaking, Gong Shaoqing's voice rang out. I forfeit. As soon as these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. They thought that Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing might battle immediately regardless of the overall situation. Now it seems that neither Baili Hongzhuang nor Gong Shaoqing is that kind of person. Kanglin Academy has good luck this time. Baili Hongzhuang looked at Gong Shaoqing with a little surprise. She did not expect Gong Shaoqing to forfeit immediately also. After all, this kind of honor is very important for the continuation of a cultivator's path. Gong Shaoqing's handsome face was a bit carefree. In fact, he was shocked when he saw that Baili Hongzhuang was about to forfeit. It was very clear to him that with his strength, it would be impossible for him to win, and Baili Hongzhuang is the Kanglin Academy's best hope. As long as Baili Hongzhuang wins this battle without any Yuanli consumption, it will be of great help to her. Although he values his own future as a member of Kanglin Academy, he hoped to help Kanglin Academy out of its current predicament. If even Baili Hongzhuang was willing to give up for this, then naturally he would do the same. Seeing the actions of Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing, everyone in Kanglin Academy was very moved. They understood when both were about to forfeit that both knew what they were willing to give up. At that moment, they admired Gong Shaoqing deeply. Although he conceded defeat this time, Gong Shaoqing was a richly deserved hero of Kanglin Academy. The gazes of Lu Huayan and Huan Chuyu were also slightly complicated, but judging from the current situation, this was indeed the best path. The referee was not surprised by this result. In fact, there were quite a few people who chose to forfeit in previous academy exchange matches against cultivators from the same academy. Kanglin Academy Baili Hongzhuang wins. With the referee's announcement, Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing looked at each other, smiled, and walked off the competition stage together. The onlookers didn't feel that there was anything wrong with this. The battles between students of the same academy in exchange matches is not worth watching, and it would be great to start the second match earlier. Nangong Aochin looked at Baili Hongzhuang with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He also had a certain understanding of Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Shaoqing's situation. No matter whose point of view it is, Baili Hongzhuang is stronger than Gong Shaoqing. If a person was Baili Hongzhuang, it would be impossible to choose to forfeit. Chapter 844 Contract Beast, Flame Lion. Although Xiao Lanmei's concession caused a lot of discussion, with the start of the third match, the entire royal arena became quiet again. Third match, Nangong Aochin versus Gong Shaoqing. Hearing this, Baili Hongzhuang and others' eyes fell on Gong Shaoqing. This was a battle without much suspense. Even though Gong Shaoqing successfully broke through to the Red Realm, it still pales in comparison to Nangong Aochin's 5th level strength in the Red Realm. It's not that Gong Shaoqing's strength is not strong enough, but Nangong Aochin is really too perverted. After all, their cultivation conditions are not as good as Nangong Aochin, which is the reason for the cultivation gap. Gong Shaoqing, go for it. Baili Hongzhuang had a faint smile on her face. Even if it couldn't change the result, the competition was still a way to gain experience. Fighting against the strong often allows them to understand more about the power of the strong, which will be of great help for their cultivation. In her previous life, she competed with the masters of the family from time to time. From the initial route to later being able to persevere, this kind of progress often makes people feel more accomplishment. For cultivators, mindset is extremely important. Failure is not terrible. Every cultivator will fail on the road forward. What is terrible is not daring to face failure. Go for it. Just show the Kanglin Academy spirit. Cui Haoyan shouted. In this case, it was difficult knowing it would be a loss, but they wanted to encourage Gong Shaoqing, so they could only offer such encouragement. Feeling everyone's goodwill, Gong Shaoqing's iceberg-like face also melted a bit. Don't worry, I will do my best. After coming to Lingyin Academy, and seeing the strength of Nangong Shuji and others, he understood that although he was quite famous at Kanglin Academy, there was still a big gap with other cultivators. In fact, it is not without reason that Kanglin Academy has been at the bottom in the last 2 academy exchange competitions. With harder conditions, Kanglin Academy does have a considerable gap with the other 2 major academies. If Baili Hongzhuang hadn't had a chance to change the rankings, he wouldn't have been able to help Kanglin Academy regain its honor. His mood had been depressed and helpless, but he had finally returned to the current calm. It is not terrible to lag behind. As long as he continues to work hard, it is not impossible to close these gaps in the future. The phrase, give up, did not exist in Gong Shaoqing's dictionary. I'm going. After he said this, Gong Shaoqing immediately walked to the high platform. Lu Qinhua looked at Gong Shaoqing's back as he left, wanting to say something but unable to say anything in the end. No matter what, Gong Shaoqing will always be the hero of her heart. Nangong Aochen stood on the competition stage again. Beside him, a flame lion was looking at Gong Shaoqing aggressively. My God, this is the contracted beast of His Royal Highness, the Flame Lion. I heard that the Flame Lion has the strength of the 5th level of the Red Realm. Ordinary contracted beasts are no match for the Flame Lion. Does His Highness the Crown Prince need to do anything himself? As long as the Flame Lion makes a move, Gong Shaoqing has already failed. Everyone's eyes were attracted by the majestic Flame Lion. They saw that the beast had red, flaming hair all over its body. It was a lion with the attribute of fire, and its attack power was also very powerful. The royal family had spent a lot of effort to help Nangong Aochen find this flame lion. Thank you for reading on my tip novel. Chapter 845, It's Just a Little Lion. Baili Hongzhuang's gaze also fell on the flame lion. The flame lion is an excellent breed amongst demon pets, and it is not easy to contract the flame lion. It is difficult to find the flame lion cub alone, and it is even more difficult to seal the flame lion cub into an egg. This shows how rare Nangong Aochen's flame lion cub was. It's just a little lion, what's there to be proud of? Xiao He curled his lips with an expression of indifference. This kind of guy can be killed in a matter of minutes. Xiao Bai nodded. The monkey reigns when the tiger is not at home one. This kind of guy can only be proud in this type of backcountry. Baili Hongzhuang listened to Xiao He and Xiao Bai's attitude, with a faint smile on the corners of her lips. The mouth on these two guys is really not small. Master, when you fight Nangong Aochen later, send me onto the field, and I'll instantly kill that little lion. Xiao He's eyes flashed with excitement. He hadn't made a move for so long. His hands were itchy. Although the current master's strength is still not strong, it should be okay to expose the relationship with Xiao Bai. Before Baili Hongzhuang could speak, Bai Shi already protested. If you want to go on, there's also me. It has been waiting for this opportunity to clear its name. Hearing this, Xiao He and Xiao Bai also smiled. Since this is a good opportunity for Bai Shi to clear his name, they won't compete with the white lion. After Gong Shaoqing saw the flame lion beside Nangong Aochen, his eyes also changed a bit. Feeling out a little with his senses, Gong Shaoqing knew that the flame lion's strength was not weak, and there was a bit of fluctuation in his heart. The royal family's heritage is indeed beyond that of ordinary people. This flame lion is not very old, but has already reached the 5th level of cultivation in the Red Realm. So many cultivation resources have been spent just to improve the strength of the flame lion. It really shows how rich and powerful they are. The competition begins. After the referee's order, Nangong Aochen and Gong Shaoqing didn't make a move immediately. Nangong Aochen looked at Gong Shaoqing. According to his understanding, Gong Shaoqing was still in the late stage of Xintian 2 realm, so he was not a match with him at all. Once he took action, it would be a complete rout, so he was not anxious at all. Since you don't have a contracted beast, my contracted beast won't make a move. Nangong Aochen said slowly. With such an absolute disparity in strength, there was no need for the flame lion to participate in the battle. Whatever. Gong Shaoqing's attitude was as cold as ever, and to him, whether Nangong Aochen used the contracted beast or not didn't make any difference. Hearing Gong Shaoqing's answer, Nangong Aochen was a little surprised. Logically speaking, an ordinary cultivator should be very flustered in such a situation, but he couldn't feel any such emotion at all from Gong Shaoqing. On the contrary, Gong Shaoqing's indifferent attitude was very strange. Make your move. Gong Shaoqing did not delay. He knew that even if he exploded with all his power to fight with Nangong Aochen, he might not be able to achieve any results, because the strength gap between the two was too great. However, even so, he would still try his best. If even a small amount of Gong Aochen's power can be consumed, it will be that much easier for Baili Hongzhuang to deal with Gong Aochen. This is his only thought after stepping onto the arena. Everything else is no longer important. Thank you for reading on My Tip Novel. Chapter 846 Fight, Gong Shaoqing. Seeing that Gong Shaoqing was so fast, Gong Aochen didn't waste any more time. The Yuanli in his body surged in an instant, and powerful energy surged out without any effort. Taking a step forward, Gong Aochen suddenly punched out. The sharp wind from his fist smashed through the air, creating a sonic boom. Sensing the power of Gong Aochen's fist, Gong Shaoqing's heart shuddered. An expert will know as soon as he made a move. Although he had long understood the gap between two realms, he couldn't help being amazed after Gong Aochen made a move. The seemingly simple punch came with a feeling of invincibility. If he hit it head-on, he was afraid that his hand would be ruined. Gong Shaoqing leaped up immediately and dodged Gong Aochen's fist. At the same time, he punched Gong Aochen's chest with a tricky arc. Gong Aochen's speed was also extremely fast as he dodged sideways and attacked Gong Shaoqing again with fierce fists. Watching the battle between Gong Shaoqing and Gong Aochen, everyone thought it was like a game of cat and mouse. What the hell? Are the students of Kanglin Academy turtles? They're hiding all the time and don't even have the courage to fight head-to-head. No matter how good that Gong Shaoqing is at hiding, once His Royal Highness finds an opportunity, he will definitely lose. There is a big gap in cultivation between Gong Shaoqing and His Royal Highness, and the fact that he has been able to dodge until now is proof of his strength. There are also many discerning people among the onlookers. From a moment Gong Shaoqing and Gong Aochen's auras erupted, they already understood that this was a contest with a great disparity in strength. Gong Shaoqing can't fight head-to-head at all, because once he does, he will definitely lose this battle. Dodging is the only way, and it is this kind of evasion that also demonstrates Gong Shaoqing's fighting skills and shows his strength as much as possible under such limitations. Although there is a certain gap in the strength of Kanglin Academy's Gong Shaoqing, he is very smart and has a solid foundation. As long as he is given a certain amount of time, his future will not be bad. People with discerning eyes have already seen Gong Shaoqing's purpose. Appreciation appeared in their eyes. Cultivation can be improved, and at Gong Shaoqing's age, there is a lot of room for improvement in the future. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes were fixed on the high platform. Gong Shaoqing's strength was clearly displayed, but Gong Aochen's strength was indeed very strong. In her opinion, this Gong Aochen is indeed a gentleman. Gong Aochen's previous attacks were not violent. He was deliberately giving Gong Shaoqing a chance to perform. After all, it is not easy for every cultivator to reach this stage. Since Gong Shaoqing has the courage to participate in the competition, he should be given a chance to perform. But now, Gong Aochen's attacks have become more and more violent, and Gong Shaoqing is in danger. The slightest mistake will lead to defeat. Lu Qingyue's hands were clasped. Her pretty face was full of worry. She was afraid that Gong Shaoqing would be seriously injured if he was not careful. Xia Ziqing and the others also fell silent at that moment. Gong Shaoqing's power was strong in their eyes. But in front of Gong Aochen, Gong Shaoqing still had no room to fight back. The huge difference in power between the two is clear. So, it seems that it may be very difficult for them to come back in this final. Thank you for reading on My Tip Novel. Chapter 847, It's Over Scoff. A strong wind slashed by, and Gong Shaoqing's pupils reflected a huge fist rapidly approaching. It was too late to escape. Gong Shaoqing felt helpless. This competition was coming to an end. However, that fist stopped in front of Gong Shaoqing's forehead, and at the same time, Gong Aochen's voice rang out. It's over. Gong Aochen slowly withdrew his fist, his face still calm and serious. To him, defeating Gong Shaoqing was nothing to be proud about. If it wasn't because his opponent was a participant in the Academy Exchange competition, he would never have fought against Gong Shaoqing. Gong Shaoqing's expression was also very indifferent. He understood Nangong Aochen's arrogance. In fact, he was indeed not qualified to be Nangong Aochen's opponent. However, he was not discouraged by this. On the contrary, this will be his motivation. If you want your opponent to respect you, you first need to have the qualifications to make your opponent respect you. Nangong Aochen of Lingyin Academy wins. The referee announced the result without hesitation, and cheers arose throughout the stands. Nangong Aochen is their pride. Immediately after Nangong Aochen defeated the opponent, they were also somewhat surprised, because while Gong Shaoqing slowly walked back to the team, Nangong Aochen was still standing on the high platform. The next competition was still his. Good job. Cui Haoyan immediately patted Gong Shaoqing's chest and expressed his admiration. In fact, if it were him, it would be impossible for him to last so long against Nangong Aochen. Gong Shaoqing was defeated but still proud. Xia Jiqing and the others also smiled. They had no regrets after being able to make it this far. Nangong Aochen is very strong. Even though I tried my best, he still was not serious. You have to be careful. Gong Shaoqing's eyes were filled with concern. Baili Hongzhuang is different from him. He knew that Hongzhuang was still thinking of fighting. Although he felt that her chances were low, it has always been a good opportunity to fight hard on the competition stage. How will you know how strong you were if you don't work hard? He actually tried his best, but the difference in power between the two was too great, so it was useless for him to try his best. But the gap between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochen is smaller. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I understand. The exquisite and beautiful face was dignified and serious. She had never underestimated Nangong Aochen, and he must have a lot of cards up his sleeves. However, she'll try her best as well. Compared with Nangong Aochen, Kanglin Academy needs victory more. She did not know what the final result of this competition will be, but she won't let Nangong Aochen win easily. Jian Qingqiu's face was full of pride. Nangong Aochen could be called the most outstanding student of Lingyin Academy in recent years. He really is one in a million. The first 2 days of the preliminary competition and the alchemy competition already made him unhappy. It wasn't until Nangong Aochen's crushing victories today that a smile appeared on his face. No matter how Kanglin Academy tries to change the situation, the final victor will be Lingyin Academy. Although the results of the alchemy competition have a certain value, they are completely different from those of the cultivator competition. Nangong Oe also showed a satisfied smile after seeing Nangong Aochen's performance. Nangong Aochen is the prince he is most satisfied with. This strategy demonstrates his rank, but it can also win the heart of the people. He is very satisfied. Thank you for reading on my tip novel. Chapter 848 on the stage, Baili Hongzhuang. In the third round, Nangong Aochen of Lingyin Academy will face off against Baili Hongzhuang of Kanglin Academy. As soon as these words came out, the gazes of the crowd fell on Baili Hongzhuang, an unusually attractive woman. She had garnered the attention of many people in the first moment that she appeared in the royal competition arena. Nangong Aochen's gaze also fell on Baili Hongzhuang. A light flashed quietly in his eyes. He was finally going to fight Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Oe also looked at Baili Hongzhuang. He also understood Baili Hongzhuang's humiliation of Nangong Xiujia. This matter has already involved the face of the royal family, and his feelings towards Baili Hongzhuang were bad, but he never thought that Baili Hongzhuang would be such a distinguished-looking little girl. He knew that the reason why Baili Hongzhuang did that was because Nangong Xiujia had gone too far, but he didn't care about that at all. No matter who it is, if they do something that insults the dignity of the Qingshao Kingdom's royal family, they must pay the price. When they knew that it was Baili Hongzhuang's turn to fight, Nangong Yujin and Nangong Yuer had hideous smiles on their faces. Baili Hongzhuang was so arrogant before, but let's see if she can continue to be so arrogant. Nangong Yuer's smile was a bit smug. She hated Baili Hongzhuang to the bone, and it just so happened that what Baili Hongzhuang had done earlier went against the dignity of the royal family. So her father had ordered that Baili Hongzhuang be taught a lesson. She believed that it was impossible for Nangong Aochin to disobey their father's order. So Baili Hongzhuang would suffer bitterly today. Nangong Aochin should teach Baili Hongzhuang a lesson, so that she will know the height of the heavens or the depth of the earth one. Nangong Yujin narrowed his eyes slightly. Because of Baili Hongzhuang, he was reprimanded by his father, and Nangong Xiujia, who had the best relationship with him, also died. He really hoped that Baili Hongzhuang would also disappear from this world. Let's just wait for the show. Nangong Yuer's expression relaxed slightly. The outcome of this competition was already set in stone. All they needed to see was how badly Baili Hongzhuang would lose. Hongzhuang, go for it, Xia Jiqing yelled, pumping her fists. Baili Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I will. Everyone cheered for Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang is Kanglin Academy's greatest hope. However, just as Baili Hongzhuang was about to walk to the competition arena, Lu Huayan's voice rang out. Baili Hongzhuang, although the result of this competition is important, it's not as important as you yourself. Do you understand? Lu Huayan's eyes flashed with worry. He really appreciated and admired this student, Baili Hongzhuang. Cultivator, doctor, alchemist, and inscription master. These four identities converged on Baili Hongzhuang, and she can no longer be described with just the word genius. Although this competition is very important to Kanglin Academy, the Kanglin Academy's focus has always been student-centered. Students are the most important, and the existence of the Academy is for the growth of students. If students are allowed to give up everything just for the reputation of the Academy, it would put the cart before the horse too. The dark and bright phoenix eyes revealed a touch of surprise. Baili Hongzhuang looked at Lu Huayan and slowly revealed a smile. That is also the wish of the vice principal. Lu Huayan said again. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes changed slightly, and a touch of emotion spread in her heart. She nodded, I understand. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. EU. Chapter 849 Strong, Killing Intent. No one knew that when Lu Huayan said these words, Xiao Lanmei's eyes changed slightly. Baili Hongzhuang slowly walked up to the competition stage and stood opposite Nangong Aochin. Her exquisite and stunning face still showed indifference and detachment. She didn't have a positive impression of members of the royal family. In fact, all of the members of the royal family were somewhat self-righteous. Even if Nangong Aochin showed the appearance of a gentleman, she didn't sense this even a little bit. Baili Hongzhuang. Nangong Aochin's gaze fell on Baili Hongzhuang as he slowly said Baili Hongzhuang's name. When you humiliated Nangong Xiujia, you should know that you touched the face one of Qingshao Kingdom's royal family. Nangong Aochin's voice was low, and his eyes were sharp. No one is allowed to sully the dignity of the royal family. Baili Hongzhuang's expression remained unchanged, the corners of her lips hooked up in a mocking smile. Only officials are allowed to set fires, while the common people are not allowed to light lamps too. You speak so eloquently. She is no stranger to the dignified face shown by the royal family. Baili Hongzhuang often faced such tricks in Fengbua Kingdom and has long been used to it. Hearing Baili Hongzhuang's blatant provocation, Nangong Aochin was slightly embarrassed. Everyone knows that what Baili Hongzhuang said was the truth. Now that the royal family is investigating the assassination of Nangong Xiujia, the matter of Nangong Xiujia and Nangong Yujin harassing Baili Hongzhuang and Lu Qinyue at the first floor is no longer a secret. In other words, from beginning to end, it was Nangong Xiujia who provoked the cultivators of Kanglin Academy, while Baili Hongzhuang and others responded passively. However, insulting the dignity of the royal family is insulting the dignity of the royal family. No matter what the reason is, it is unforgivable. No matter what, you cannot provoke the dignity of the Qingshao Kingdom royal family. Nangong Aochin's voice was slightly cold. What Baili Hongzhuang said at this moment was already disrespectful. Nangong Oi's majestic face flashed with a touch of anger. Today, Nangong Aochin was prepared to take this opportunity to restore the dignity of the royal family. If Baili Hongzhuang knew how to behave, it would be fine, but Baili Hongzhuang still had such an attitude, so he couldn't let it go. Nangong Aochin's gaze turned slightly, and he quietly glanced at Nangong Oi. After seeing Nangong Oi's eyes, he immediately understood. In the next moment, Baili Hongzhuang clearly felt the murderous aura emanating from Nangong Aochin. Her phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. Nangong Aochin actually had murderous intentions towards her. Judging from the previous actions, Nangong Aochin originally did not intend to kill her, but now he actually showed killing intent toward her. She is sure that this is Nangong Oi's idea. For intolerant royals, stains are not allowed to exist. She must be completely obliterated. Perhaps on other occasions Nangong Aochin is not suitable for this, but in this case, Nangong Aochin is not under any pressure. 3. Even if he kills Baili Hongzhuang, he only needs to say he made a mistake. Everyone will know that the truth is that this is a demonstration by the royal family. A cold light appeared in Baili Hongzhuang's eyes. It seems that the situation is no longer as simple as everyone thought. This competition is probably a fight to the death. The crowd only felt that the atmosphere between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochin suddenly became serious. They did not know about the murderous intent surging between them. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. EU. Chapter 850 Killed directly. Isn't this just a bullshit royal family? He's so full of himself. One. Master, let's kill Nangong Aochin, the heir to the royal family. A cold light flashed in Shaohei's eyes. If Nangong Aochin's attitude was good, it would be fine, but this attitude is simply inexcusable. No matter how you look at it, this is Nangong Xiujia's problem and has nothing to do with the master. It is really disgusting that the royal family puts on such a sanctimonious appearance. It's okay to kill, but it can't be done in plain sight. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. Her face was covered with frost. An eye for an eye. 2. Since Nangong Aochin has the heart to kill her, he should be prepared to be killed by her. It's just that in this royal arena, in full view of everyone, she can't do it. Because they are now in Qingshao Kingdom. Once Nangong Aochin falls, the entire Kinglan Academy would be implicated. If it was just her, leaving Qingshao Kingdom wouldn't be a big deal, but Kinglan Academy wouldn't be able to escape. Baili Hongzhuang raised her chin slightly and looked at Nangong Aochin coldly. Let's fight. Since it is unavoidable, let's fight. There was also a hint of coldness in Nangong Aochin's eyes. As an adult of the royal family, he must obliterate the existence of all those who insult the dignity of the royal family. Doubt flashed in the eyes of Huan Chuyu and the others. Although the issue between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia has some impact, the atmosphere between the two was too serious. The competition begins. With the referee's order, Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochin started the battle. The white lion jumped down from Baili Hongzhuang's arms. His little body stared at the flame lion beside Nangong Aochin. Damn guy. How dare you want to kill his master? He will destroy this flame lion opponent first. Nangong Aochin couldn't help but be a little amused after seeing the ornamental contract beast in Baili Hongzhuang's arms also participating in the battle. The flame lion's mouth can easily bite off the neck of this little guy. However, he also understood Baili Hongzhuang's reason for doing this. Since Baili Hongzhuang was already going to die, there was no reason why this contract beast shouldn't participate in the battle. When the audience saw the white lion confronting the flame lion, they couldn't help laughing out loud. Haha, this little guy also came to fight. The flame lion is 10 times bigger. Are the people from Kanglan Academy here just to make jokes? If this little guy can withstand a blow from the flaming lion, I'll eat this chair. Almost everyone was laughing. This was just too humiliating. Xia Jiqing and the others were also stunned. Although Baili Hongzhuang normally always hugged the white lion, they had never seen the white lion fight. Thinking of the tyrannical strength of the flame lion, the white lion might die immediately on this competition arena. They didn't understand why Baili Hongzhuang would do this. Only Mo Yunjue in the stands had a glint of understanding in his eyes. The power inside this little guy is beyond everyone's comprehension. You're quite enlightened. Nangong Aochin also had a touch of admiration for Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't know whether it was self-confidence or ignorance, but she still didn't show any panic before death. Baili Hongzhuang coldly glanced at Nangong Aochin, her red lips parting slightly. You lack enlightenment. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. EU. Chapter 851. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius doctor and scrupulous consort, this kind of thing is useless against me. Nangong Aochin let out a cold snort and stepped forward with the sole of his foot. The energy in his dantian burst out, and a tyrannical pressure spread instantly. The fifth level of the Red Realm. Tyrannical coercion immediately pressed down on Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't use all his strength when fighting Gong Shaoqing, but he wanted a crushing victory to break Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. After reaching the innate realm, when there is a certain gap between the strength of two cultivators, the coercion of the strong will generate a huge pressure to crush the opponent. Under this coercion, the weaker competitor will also be suppressed and be unable to exert their full combat power. This is the difficulty of leapfrog battles. Ordinary people cannot break through this layer of coercion, and the competitor is eclipsed. Baili Hongzhuang's speed was also limited. The vitality in her body roared out, and the strength of the third level of the Red Realm was revealed. Everyone was a little surprised when they saw that Baili Hongzhuang had reached the third level of the Red Realm at this young age. She deserves the title of genius. If Baili Hongzhuang was the same age as Nangong Aochin, her strength would not be weaker than Nangong Aochin. You can only blame Baili Hongzhuang for being born later. Facing the coercion of Nangong Aochin, Baili Hongzhuang only felt that a huge boulder was pressing on her body, somewhat impacting her combat power. Nangong Aochin looked indifferent. This is the difference between the weak and the strong. There's almost no need to do anything. The weak is already at an impasse. After seeing the Nangong Aochin's arrogance and complacency, Baili Hongzhuang's lips slowly parted into a mocking smile. Baili Hongzhuang's mind moved, and a touch of jade color quietly appeared on her arms, radiant and tough. The next moment, Baili Hongzhuang slammed her right fist towards the coercive pressure. Boom! A dull sound came out, and Nangong Aochin's expression changed instantly. Crackle! There was a slight cracking sound, and then the coercion dissipated like a broken mirror. When they saw this scene, there was a touch of amazement in everyone's eyes. Nangong Aochin's coercion was broken so easily by Baili Hongzhuang. This kind of thing is useless against me. Baili Hongzhuang said indifferently. The strength difference between her and Nangong Aochin was only 2 ranks. This level of coercion would absolutely not suppress her. Nangong Aochin was also a little surprised that just one punch had shattered the coercion. It was clear that the strength of Baili Hongzhuang's fist was amazing. At the same time, a touch of interest quietly appeared in Nangong Aochin's eyes. Among the younger generation of cultivators, he rarely encountered such an interesting person. Immediately after, Nangong Aochin moved, turning into a ray of yellow light sweeping towards Baili Hongzhuang. The distance between the two of them closed instantly. Nangong Aochin turned his right palm into a fist and without hesitation struck at Baili Hongzhuang's neck. The huge fist was wrapped in a fierce wind and enlarged rapidly in Baili Hongzhuang's view, but Baili Hongzhuang didn't panic. She did not have the slightest intention of avoiding it. She coincidentally wanted to also know how strong she really is now. Just when the fist was about to reach Baili Hongzhuang, she moved. A slim white fist greeted Nangong Aochin fearlessly, actually wanting to go head-to-head. Seeing this scene, Almost everyone already foresaw the fate of Baili Hongzhuang's bones being broken. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. EU. Chapter 852. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius doctor in scrupulous consort body training martial arts. This Baili Hongzhuang is too nonchalant. Does she think that eldest brother's 2 extra levels of strength are just for show? The corners of Nangong Yuer's mouth curled in mockery, but the smile in her eyes gradually deepened. Baili Hongzhuang's hand was broken. This was also good news. People who come from small places are always a little ignorant. They really think that their strength is great. Nangong Yujin said languidly. Boom! 2 fists, one big and one small, collided loudly under the crowd's astonished gaze. The scenario of Baili Hongzhuang's bones being broken that people expected didn't materialize. Nangong Aochin was surprised by the huge power coming from her fist. He did not expect Baili Hongzhuang's strength to be so strong. I underestimated you, Nangong Aochin said slowly. He originally wanted to overwhelmingly defeat Baili Hongzhuang, but now it seems that Baili Hongzhuang's strength would not be so easy to solve. The children of the royal family are always so arrogant. Baili Hongzhuang was not polite at all when she spoke. Since it was already an antagonistic situation, she would not respect her opponent. Nangong Aochin's face turned cold. A hint of sullen anger flashed in his eyes. His body moved, and he attacked like a storm. Bang, bang, bang. Baili Hongzhuang didn't give in at all. Her figure waged war with Nangong Aochin. The fierce attacks continued to erupt, and the two intertwined together like whirlwinds. The fierce energy also burst out sonic explosions. As the hits continued, Nangong Aochin's surprise increased. Usually, female practitioners are very weak in melee combat, but Baili Hongzhuang didn't seem to be affected in any way, and her melee combat ability was very good. What he couldn't understand was that Baili Hongzhuang's cultivation base was clearly 2 levels weaker than his. So why didn't he feel Baili Hongzhuang's weakness at all as they fought? Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang has cultivated body training martial arts? Nangong Aochin was a little puzzled. Although body training martial arts are not uncommon, good body training martial arts are rare. Baili Hongzhuang can even fight against 2 levels of combat power disadvantage, which shows that Baili Hongzhuang's martial arts level is high. It seems that the reputation of first place in each academy is not without merit. He can't underestimate the enemy. Swish! The 2 figures shot apart. Baili Hongzhuang took a few steps back, releasing the energy in her body. Nangong Aochin's strength was, as everyone said, it not blown out of proportion. Even using the Jade body training skill, her strength was still somewhat lacking. The gap in strength between the two was not small. Under the sleeve of her robe, Baili Hongzhuang's fist filled with red blood, and she trembled faintly. She was unavoidably injured in the last collision. However, the crowd was extremely horrified after seeing this scene. Nangong Yujin had a look of incredulity on his face. Baili Hongzhuang's cultivation level is clearly 2 levels lower than Nangong Aochin's. How can she persist under such a storm of attacks? How strong is Nangong Aochin? No one with weaker strength has ever been able to last against Nangong Aochin for so long. This is too bizarre. The eyes of Xia Jiqing and the others were full of excitement. Hongzhuang is really great. Even with Baili Hongzhuang on stage, they never had any hope, because the gap between the 2 levels was huge. Baili Hongzhuang's performance really amazed them. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. EU. Chapter 853. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius doctor in scrupulous consort appearance. By sure, since it's already a match to the death, let's get it over with. The coldness in Baili Hongzhuang's eyes gradually deepened. She already had a certain understanding of Nangong Aochin's strength from this initial confrontation. Although her cultivation was not as good as Nangong Aochin's, she is not without the strength to fight. The word concede has never been in her dictionary. She will never know the final result without fighting for her life. Gong Aochen's handsome eyes narrowed slightly. That Baili Hongzhuang could still say such words in this situation meant that Baili Hongzhuang was planning to go all out. Since you are so eager to die, I will help you out. Gong Aochen's voice was also full of chill. He couldn't continue to let Baili Hongzhuang go on. What he wanted was a crushing victory, so that everyone could see that the majesty of the royal family could not be trampled upon. On the other side, Bai Shi turned his head to look at Baili Hongzhuang. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang nod, Bai Shi's gaze fell on the opposite flame lion. A trace of fear flashed in the eyes of the majestic flame lion after seeing the white lion. His sturdy figure also began to tremble. Seeing this, everyone looked astonished. Why does it seem that the flame lion is afraid of that little white beast? What kind of little white beast is that? Why have I never seen one before? Everyone was puzzled. Although there are many types of beasts, the people present did not lack in experience. They are even familiar with ornamental beasts, but they had never seen a beast like Bai Shi. You think too much. How could the flame lion be afraid of such a small beast? Other people also disagreed. The flame lion is very rare among contract beasts. How could the contracted beast of a student from the backcountry Kanglan Academy be better than His Royal Highness? Old Huan, what kind of contract beast is this? Jianqingxiu is not a stupid person. The concept of hierarchy among beasts is stricter than that of humans. Only when low-level beasts meet high-level beasts would there be such a reaction. In the past, they only regarded Baili Hongzhuang's monster beast as a pet, but now it seems that this white lion is obviously not just ornamental. Huan Chu was also a little surprised. In fact, he had never paid attention to the white lion. This, I have never thought about either. Huan Chu said slowly. However, Jian Qingxiu and Song Hongxi obviously didn't believe Huan Chuyu and thought that Huan Chuyu was trying to purposefully show off. Regardless of the strength of this beast, Baili Hongzhuang will not be able to beat Gong Aochen. Song Hongxi did not have any positive feelings for Huan Chuyuan. Yesterday, Huan Chuyu revealed Wei Hanyun's identity in front of everyone, which humiliated him. Now he only hopes that Kanglan Academy will return in defeat and come in last place. Huan Chuyu glanced at Song Hongxi indifferently. At least my students from Kanglan Academy still have the courage to fight, unlike yours that don't even have the courage to fight. Seeing Huan Chuyu's words become more and more rude, Song Hongxi also snorted coldly. You'd better pray that the good seedlings of your Kanglan Academy don't die on this competition stage. Huan Chuyu was furious, but Song Hongxi had already looked away. This old guy was going too far. However, Song Hongxi's words reminded Huan Chuyu that he must pay constant attention to the situation on the stage and not allow Baili Hongzhuang's life to be in danger. Thank you for reading on Wuxia World. EU. Chapter 850, Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort posted on December 6, 2022 by Staltel. No comments on Chapter 850. Bewitching Prince Spoils His Wife. Genius Doctor and Scrupulous Consort kill directly. Isn't this just a bullshit royal family? He's so full of himself. One. Master, let's kill Gong Aochen, the heir to the royal family. A cold light flashed in Xiaohei's eyes. If Gong Aochen's attitude was good, it would be fine, but this attitude is simply inexcusable. No matter how you look at it, this is Gong Xiujia's problem and has nothing to do with the master. It is really disgusting that the royal family puts on such a sanctimonious appearance. It's okay to kill, but it can't be done in plain sight. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. Her face was covered with frost. An eye for an eye. Too, since Gong Aochen has the heart to kill her, he should be prepared to be killed by her. It's just that in this royal arena, in full view of everyone, she can't do it, because they are now in Qingxiao Kingdom. Once Gong Aochen falls, the entire Kanglan Academy would be implicated. If it was just her, leaving Qingxiao Kingdom wouldn't be a big deal, but Kanglan Academy wouldn't be able to escape. Baili Hongzhuang raised her chin slightly and looked at Nangong Aochin coldly. Let's fight. Since it is unavoidable, let's fight. There is also a hint of coldness in Nangong Aochin's eyes. As an adult of the royal family, he must obliterate the existence of all those who insult the dignity of the royal family. Doubt flashed in the eyes of Huan Chuyu and the others. Although the issue between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia has some impact, the atmosphere between the two was too serious. The competition begins. With the referee's order, Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Aochin started the battle. The white lion jumped down from Baili Hongzhuang's arms. His little body stared at the flame lion beside Nangong Aochin. Damn guy. How dare he want to kill his master? He will destroy this flame lion opponent first. Nangong Aochin couldn't help but be a little amused after seeing the ornamental contract beast in Baili Hongzhuang's arms also participating in the battle. The flame lion's mouth can easily bite off the neck of this little guy. However, he also understood Baili Hongzhuang's reason for doing this. Since Baili Hongzhuang was already going to die, there was no reason why this contract beast shouldn't participate in the battle. When the audience saw the white lion confronting the flame lion, they couldn't help laughing out loud. Haha, this little guy also came to fight. The flame lion is 10 times bigger. Are the people from Kanglan Academy here just to make jokes? If this little guy can withstand a blow from the flaming lion, I'll eat this chair. Almost everyone was laughing. This was just too humiliating. Shaoqing and the others were also stunned. Although Baili Hongzhuang normally always hugged the white lion, they had never seen the white lion fight. Thinking of the tyrannical strength of the flame lion, the white lion might die immediately on this competition arena. They didn't understand why Baili Hongzhuang would do this. Only Mo Yunjue in the stands had a glint of understanding in his eyes. The power inside this little guy is beyond everyone's comprehension. You're quite enlightened. Nangong Aochin also had a touch of admiration for Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't know whether it was self-confidence or ignorance, but she still didn't show any panic before death. Baili Hongzhuang coldly glanced at Nangong Aochin, her red lips parting slightly. You lack enlightenment. TL/N1 is literally he started pretending to breathe heavily as soon as he called fat. To another idiom literally, you do the first day of the month, I'll do the 15th. This kind of thing is useless against me. Nangong Aochin let out a cold snort and stepped forward with the sole of his foot. The energy in his dantian burst out, and a tyrannical pressure spread instantly. The 5th level of the Red Realm. Tyrannical coercion immediately pressed down on Baili Hongzhuang. He didn't use all his strength when fighting Gong Shaoqing, but he wanted a crushing victory to break Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. After reaching the innate realm, when there's a certain gap between the strength of two cultivators, the coercion of the strong will generate a huge pressure to crush the opponent. Under this coercion, the weaker competitor will also be suppressed and be unable to exert their full combat power. This is the difficulty of leapfrog battles. Ordinary people cannot break through this layer of coercion, and the competitor is eclipsed. Baili Hongzhuang's speed was also limited. The vitality in her body roared out, and the strength of the 3rd level of the Red Realm was revealed. Everyone was a little surprised when they saw that Baili Hongzhuang had reached the 3rd level of the Red Realm at this young age. She deserves the title of genius. If Baili Hongzhuang was the same age as Nangong Aochin, her strength would not be weaker than Nangong Aochin. You can only blame Baili Hongzhuang for being born later. Facing the coercion of Nangong Aochin, Baili Hongzhuang only felt that a huge boulder was pressing on her body, somewhat impacting her combat power. Nangong Aochin looked indifferent. This is the difference between the weak and the strong. There's almost no need to do anything. The weak is already at an impasse. After seeing the Nangong Aochin's arrogance and complacency, Baili Hongzhuang's lips slowly parted into a mocking smile. Baili Hongzhuang's mind moved, and a touch of jade color quietly appeared on her arms, radiant and tough. The next moment, Baili Hongzhuang slammed her right fist towards the coercive pressure. Boom! A dull sound came out, and Nangong Aochen's expression changed instantly. Crackle! There was a slight cracking sound, and then the coercion dissipated like a broken mirror. When they saw this scene, there was a touch of amazement in everyone's eyes. Nangong Aochen's coercion was broken so easily by Baili Hongzhuang. This kind of thing is useless against me, Baili Hongzhuang said indifferently. The strength difference between her and Nangong Aochen was only 2 ranks. This level of coercion would absolutely not suppress her. Nangong Aochen was also a little surprised that just one punch had shattered the coercion. It was clear that the strength of Baili Hongzhuang's fist was amazing. At the same time, a touch of interest quietly appeared in Nangong Aochen's eyes. Among the younger generation of cultivators, he rarely encountered such an interesting person. Immediately after, Nangong Aochen moved, turning into a ray of yellow light sweeping towards Baili Hongzhuang. The distance between the two of them closed instantly. Nangong Aochen turned his right palm into a fist and without hesitation struck at Baili Hongzhuang's neck. The huge fist was wrapped in a fierce wind and enlarged rapidly in Baili Hongzhuang's view. But Baili Hongzhuang didn't panic. She did not have the slightest intention of avoiding it. She coincidentally wanted to also know how strong she really is now. Just when the fist was about to reach Baili Hongzhuang, she moved. A slim white fist greeted Nangong Aochen fearlessly, actually wanting to go head-to-head. Seeing this scene, almost everyone already foresaw the fate of Baili Hongzhuang's bones being broken. Body training martial arts. This Baili Hongzhuang is too nonchalant. Does she think that eldest brother's 2 extra levels of strength are just for show? The corners of Nangong Yuer's mouth curled in mockery, but the smile in her eyes gradually deepened. Baili Hongzhuang's hand was broken. This was also good news. People who come from small places are always a little ignorant. They really think that their strength is great. Nangong Yujin said languidly. Boom! 2 fists, one big and one small, collided loudly under the crowd's astonished gaze. The scenario of Baili Hongzhuang's bones being broken that people expected didn't materialize. Nangong Aochen was surprised by the huge power coming from her fist. He did not expect Baili Hongzhuang's strength to be so strong. I underestimated you, Nangong Aochen said slowly. He originally wanted to overwhelmingly defeat Baili Hongzhuang, but now it seems that Baili Hongzhuang's strength would not be so easy to solve. The children of the royal family are always so arrogant. Baili Hongzhuang was not polite at all when she spoke. Since it was already an antagonistic situation, she would not respect her opponent. Nangong Aochen's face turned cold. A hint of sullen anger flashed in his eyes, his body moved, and he attacked like a storm. Bang, bang, bang. Baili Hongzhuang didn't give in at all. Her figure waged war with Nangong Aochen. The fierce attacks continued to erupt, and the two intertwined together like whirlwinds. The fierce energy also burst out sonic explosions. As the hits continued, Nangong Aochen's surprise increased. Usually, female practitioners are very weak in melee combat, but Baili Hongzhuang didn't seem to be affected in any way, and her melee combat ability was very good. What he couldn't understand was that Baili Hongzhuang's cultivation base was clearly 2 levels weaker than his. So why didn't he feel Baili Hongzhuang's weakness at all as they fought? Could it be that Baili Hongzhuang has cultivated body training martial arts? Nangong Aochen was a little puzzled. Although body training martial arts are not uncommon, good body training martial arts are rare. Baili Hongzhuang can even fight against 2 levels of combat power disadvantage, which shows that Baili Hongzhuang's martial arts level is high. It seems that the reputation of first place in each academy is not without merit. He can't underestimate the enemy. Swish! The 2 figures shot apart. Baili Hongzhuang took a few steps back, releasing the energy in her body. Nangong Aochen's strength was, as everyone said, it not blown out of proportion. Even using the Jade body training skill, her strength was still somewhat lacking. The gap in strength between the two was not small. Under the sleeve of her robe, Baili Hongzhuang's fist filled with red blood, and she trembled faintly. She was unavoidably injured in the last collision. However, the crowd was extremely horrified after seeing this scene. Nangong Yujin had a look of incredulity on his face. Baili Hongzhuang's cultivation level is clearly 2 levels lower than Nangong Aochen's. How can she persist under such a storm of attacks? How strong is Nangong Aochen? No one with weaker strength has ever been able to last against Nangong Aochen for so long. This is too bizarre. The eyes of Xia Jiqing and the others were full of excitement. Hongzhuang is really great. Even with Baili Hongzhuang on stage, they never had any hope, because the gap between the 2 levels was huge. Baili Hongzhuang's performance really amazed them. Huan Chu glanced at Song Hongxi indifferently. At least my students from Kanglan Academy still have the courage to fight, unlike yours that don't even have the courage to fight. Seeing Huan Chu's words become more and more rude, Song Hongxi also snorted coldly. You'd better pray that the good seedlings of your Kanglan Academy don't die on this competition stage. Huan Chu was furious, but Song Hongxi had already looked away. This old guy was going too far. However, Song Hongxi's words reminded Huan Chuyu that he must pay constant attention to the situation on the stage and not allow Baili Hongzhuang's life to be in danger. Horror, Nangong Aochen, Baili Hongzhuang, and Bai Shi started their attacks simultaneously. Baili Hongzhuang's Yuanli surged towards her fist. At the same time, she shifted her shape into a shadow, disappearing like a ghost. Seeing Baili Hongzhuang's strange shape, Nangong Aochen's eyes also flashed with surprise. His entire focus tensed, not daring to relax anymore. Hurricane break. Baili Hongzhuang's moved as swift as the wind, and a martial art move as fast as lightning struck Nangong Aochen's chest. Nangong Aochen reacted swiftly. After feeling the fierce wind, he also initiated a martial arts move. Shaking Dragon Fist. Bang! When the 2 fists collided, the bursts of Yuanli canceled each other out, but the level of the Shaking Dragon Fist was stronger than the Hurricane Break. Therefore, in this collision, Nangong Aochen had the upper hand. Nangong Aochen, who was initially nervous, revealed a smile. The royal family's heritage is simply not comparable to that of ordinary people. Compared to other cultivators, it is much easier for him to acquire advanced martial arts. A satisfied smile appeared in Nangong Oi's eyes. Baili Hongzhuang had been jumping around for so long. He should have killed her in one fell swoop. However, Baili Hongzhuang was not overly disappointed in losing on that attack. The Yuanli in her body surged again. There was a hint of coldness in Nangong Aochen's eyes. Baili Hongzhuang's strength was clearly weaker than his. Yet she dared to attack him first. This is simply unforgivable. Next, I'll show you how powerful the royal family is. The arrogance between Nangong Aochen's brows intensified, and the energy in his body continued to emerge, converging on his hands. As Nangong Aochen's hands continued to flip, a complex seal was quietly formed. At the same time, a heart-palpitating force spread from his hands. Heavenly Devil's Palm. As soon as these words emerged, a huge palm quickly formed behind Nangong Aochen. The entire sky seemed to be suppressed by this huge palm of Yuanli, and an unspeakable pressure swept across the hearts of the crowd. Baili Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the Heavenly Devil's Palm. The same move done by Nangong Aochen and Nangong Xiujia were completely different. The Heavenly Devil's Palm, cast by Nangong Aochen, was almost twice the size of Nangong Xiujia's. This showed how much stronger Nangong Aochen's mastery of martial arts was compared to Nangong Xiujia's. Brother has already trained the heavenly devil's palm to such an extent. This is too terrifying. Nangong Yuer's face reflected awe. The heavenly devil's palm she had refined was not even comparable to Nangong Xiujia. Nangong Aochin really deserved to be called the most outstanding talent of the Qingshao Kingdom royal family. Nangong Yujin's face was ugly. The stronger Nangong Aochin is, the worse it is for him. This level of strength completely overshadows all the other members of the royal family. Only Nangong Oi's eyes showed a look of satisfaction. Nangong Aochin was really a gift to Qingshao Kingdown from the heavens. Whether it was strength, mind, or ability, they were all one in a million. Huan Qi winked at Lu Huayin. The power of this heavenly devil's palm is extraordinary. If Baili Hongzhuang doesn't have a strong enough martial arts counter, Baili Hongzhuang may fall here. Obviously, this kind of competition can no longer continue. Mo Yunjue's eyes were fixed on the competition stage. His expression was a little cold, but the Yuanli in his body was already surging quietly. Obviously, he also planned to save Baili Hongzhuang before she was in danger. How is this possible? Master, this guy's heavenly devil's palm is very powerful. You have to be careful. Xiao Hei's eyes were full of worry. It could feel the power of this heavenly devil's palm. If the other party was an ordinary cultivator, Master should be able to fight against someone 2 levels higher. But Nangong Aochin's cultivation is obviously not simple. He was afraid that Nangong Aochin also could leapfrog combat. As a result, the gap between the Master and Nangong Aochin will be even greater. Baili Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with strong fighting intent. The final result will be unknown until the last moment. In a flash, the Yuanli in Baili Hongzhuang's body also surged crazily. As she kept flipping her hands, an equally palpitating energy burst out. Azure One Flame, Sacred Palm. Baili Hongzhuang yelled coldly. A huge Yuanli palm also appeared in midair, blazing azure flames covering the entire palm. The temperature of the entire martial arts arena also rose slightly, and a scorching heat spread. Anyone who had seen the battle between Baili Hongzhuang and Nangong Xiujia was not unfamiliar with the azure flame sacred palm. Previously, Baili Hongzhuang defeated Nangong Xiujia with this azure flame sacred palm, but Nangong Xiujia's mastery of the heavenly devil's palm could not be compared with Nangong Aochin's at all. At this moment, it would be a bit whimsical to want to use this trick to stop the demon palm. A country bumpkin is a country bumpkin. She has only mastered a few moves, and she just doesn't have any more moves. Nangong Yuer's lips curled slightly, and she looked at Xia Jiqing and the others mockingly. They were from 2 different worlds from the time they were born. A touch of anger appeared on the faces of Xia Jiqing and the others, but there was also a bit of helplessness in their hearts. In fact, the heritage of ordinary people cannot be compared with that of the royal family. Elder Huan, can't your Kanglan Academy hand over any decent martial arts to its students? It's very difficult to conquer the world with only one move. Song Hongxi mocked. There was also a smile on Jian Qingqiu's face. This is the royal family's heritage. With things going the way they were, it would be impossible for Kanglan Academy to turn things around. However, Huan Chu didn't bother to pay attention to Song Hongxi at all. It's not that Kanglan Academy doesn't have martial arts to teach students. It's just that Baili Hongzhuang came to Kanglan Academy only a little while ago. That's all. With the power of your Azure Flame Sacred Palm, you are doomed to fail. Nangong Aochin's eyes showed a trace of contempt, and he was able to judge the outcome before the 2 attacks collided, because the gap between the 2 really is too large. However, the corners of Baili Hongzhuang's lips slowly hooked up in a wicked and enchanting arc. That's not necessarily true. Suddenly, everyone saw Baili Hongzhuang's hands flipping again, and her face turned slightly pale. Just when everyone didn't understand what Baili Hongzhuang was doing, Baili Hongzhuang's hands suddenly folded together, and the azure palm, suspended in midair, suddenly shrunk a bit. Seeing this, Gong Aochen's pupils shrank, and a look of disbelief appeared on that serious cold face. The scorching temperature increased as the azure palm shrank, and the entire palm became more dazzling, even completely blocking the sun's brilliance. How is this possible? Gong Aochen asked in astonishment. TL/N1 actually is a blue-green color. Some say cyan, some say blue, some say green. I'm making it azure for convenience. An amazing scene is not the most difficult thing to enlarge martial arts, but it is extremely difficult to shrink it. Once the martial skill is reduced in size, the energy of the martial skill is more condensed, and the power of the martial skill is also greatly enhanced. It's just that the degree of difficulty is indescribable. If his perception was correct, this Azure Flame Sacred Palm should be an early Xian 1 rank martial skill, and it would be too difficult to shrink it. He didn't understand how Baili Hongzhuang actually did it. Not only Gong Aochen, but also the cultivators who were watching were in shock. This technique is really amazing. Shaoqing and the others were stunned. It seems that what they learned before was not Hongzhuang's true strength. No wonder Hongzhuang was only slightly injured while Gong Xiujia was injured like that. If Hongzhuang had used this trick at the beginning, Gong Xiujia would have had no choice but to die. Apparently, there were quite a few people who figured this out. Gradually, many people changed their opinions about Baili Hongzhuang. Baili Hongzhuang was merciful to Gong Xiujia previously, but now Gong Aochen wants to kill Baili Hongzhuang. Comparing the two, everyone can't help but feel that the royal family is too narrow-minded, but they dare not say this. How did you do it? Gong Aochen couldn't help but ask out loud. If this technique was used in battle, the explosive combat power would be improved by more than a little. Baili Hongzhuang chuckled softly, and a hint of mockery appeared in her eyes, which were as quiet as a deep pool. Why should I tell you? Gong Aochen was probably accustomed to being revered. Even asked this question was asked with a condescending tone. Others care about the identity of His Highness the Crown Prince, but she doesn't care at all. Hearing this, Gong Aochen's expression changed a bit. At this moment, he didn't want to kill Baili Hongzhuang anymore. This woman had mastered such a magical technique. If she were kidnapped by the royal family so that he could learn the technique from her, it would be a great help to him. It's just that it's a pity that the emperor's order is hard to refuse. As Baili Hongzhuang and Gong Aochen were confronting each other, Baishir rushed towards the flame lion like lightning. It's unforgivable that this bullshit lion is showing off in front of everyone, and he, the majestic beast king, is ridiculed by everyone as a useless little one. The flame lion has always been pampered by the royal family. Although it has an unspeakable fear of the white lion in its bones, it has followed its arrogant master for a long time, and it really regards itself as a hero. It went to kill the white lion also. When everyone saw the white lion attacking the much stronger flame lion, they all felt it was ridiculous. This little guy was just as helpless as its owner. However, in the next moment, an amazing spectacle occurred. Roar! Baishir roared, and the attitude of the flame lion changed slightly. The moment the two monster beasts pounced, Baishir's movements were as fast as lightning, and it leaped to bite the flame lion's throat with the speed of a violent storm. If you dare to challenge the king of beasts, prepare to pay the price. Two figures, one red and one white, crossed and blood sprayed in midair. When everyone could see clearly, the flame lion had already fallen to the ground whining. Where was its previous majesty? TL/N1 The Xian realm is the realm before the innate realm, which Baili is currently in. See my list here for the current rankings. http://stalled translations. com/cultivation levels Bewitching Prince spoils his wife / Chapter 857 Bewitching Prince spoils his wife. Genius Doctor Unscrupulous Consort Beast, how dare you? The audience was silent. Everyone stared dumbfounded at this scene. Isn't this too unbelievable? The majestic and prestigious flame lion was bitten on the throat by the little white beast in a face-to-face fight? What species is this little white beast? Haha, what kind of lame flame lion is this? Everyone praises this level of combat power. It's laughable, right? Xiaoqing couldn't help laughing. Everyone praised the flame lion earlier. Gong Aochin also regarded the flame lion as a treasure, yet it was defeated so easily. The royal family spent so much money and effort to cultivate such a useless beast. However, when Xiaoqing chuckled, Gong Shaoqing and the others did not smile, and their eyes fell on Bai Shi. It seems that they had underestimated Bai Shi. I knew that it was absolutely impossible for Hongzhuang's contracted beast to be an ornamental beast. Cui Haoyan sighed, still feeling unspeakably shocked. When they first found out that Baili Hongzhuang had contracted such a beast, they felt it was unbelievable. After all, Baili Hongzhuang had never been an ostentatious person. This kind of ornamental beast is the type that some officials who are not strong in combat like to keep in captivity. But as a cultivator, this kind of beast is a hindrance. All the previous confusion was immediately cleared up after seeing Bai Shi make a move. This white lion is simply pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger one. The contract beast is like its master. The fighting power of this white lion is as perverted as its owner. Bai Junyu shook his head speechlessly. Fortunately, he and Baili Hongzhuang were teammates. Otherwise, it would be terrible to offend such an opponent. Gong Shaoqing took a deep breath and calmed down the shock in his heart. The flame lion has the strength of 5th level of the Red Realm, which proves that the cute little beast that had always been inconspicuous also has at least the strength of 5th level of the Red Realm. Baili Hongzhuang is really extraordinary. Gong Yuerer and the others were stupefied. They knew how strong the flame lion was. A true 5th level Red Realm cultivator, even stronger than ordinary 5th level Red Realm cultivators. However, after this one face-to-face charge, the flame lion was half dead. What kind of contract beast did Baili Hongzhuang have? After Gong Aochin saw the flame lion lying on the ground, his face instantly turned livid. He had contracted the flame lion when he was very young, and the flame lion had grown up with him. In his heart, the flame lion occupied a very important place, and he even regarded the flame lion as a relative. Bai Shi chewed on the flame lion's flesh and swallowed it in one gulp, enjoying everyone's attention. Now, everyone should know the ability of Bai Shi. The next moment, Bai Shi leapt towards the flame lion again. The meat of the flame lion was not bad. Well, when the flame lion saw Bai Shi attacking again, there was a trace of panic in its eyes. It was no match for the white lion at all. Seeing the actions of the white lion, Gong Aochin was about to burst into tears. "You beast, how dare you?" However, Bai Shi ignored Gong Aochin's words, leapt up, opened its mouth wide to reveal sharp teeth, and bit the neck of the flame lion again. Gong Aochin's eyes flashed wisps of blood. The heavenly devil's palm immediately attacked Bai Shi. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.